NARL's season opener lived up to expectations and so much more, setting the bar high not just for the drama factor at Imola, but also pro race winner Dalton Zavadil to back up a career-high finish at Detroit. Virtual Emilia-Romagna is ready for NARL Porsche Cup racing. And welcome to Pit Stop TV. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costa alongside. And JP, I probably butchered that name of the region, but it is so good to be here in Virtual Imola. It is such a beautiful racetrack, so technical, so exciting when you get the right drivers and the right race cars and the right conditions. You can see, I mean, this is, look at that brick wall there on the left side through Acqua Minerale. This is just such a beautiful racetrack. So much history, so much just pure, it feels like racing. It just feels like a race. Well, of course it is a racetrack, but it just feels like such a great place to be, at least virtually, here on the iRacing.com service. And glad to have you back for the full night this evening as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. I'm so happy to be back. Obviously, last week the amateur race was very exciting to broadcast. The pro race was awesome to catch up and watch live. And well, as you mentioned, being in Imola here, such a historic, as you mentioned, circuit. With a fantastic crew. Obviously, fantastic crew that we have here for the broadcast, but fantastic drivers as well on this magnificent course. Obviously, very historic. Amazing for some reasons. Obviously, awful for some other reasons. Obviously, the things that happen in Formula One, but it's such a fantastic course. And with the drivers in the Porsche Cup car tonight, Andrew, I feel like we're going to have a spectacle of racing.
Yeah, it's difficult to think back to some of the drivers that have been lost here at Imola, but I think that adds to the history, that adds to the mystique, if you will, here at Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari. And quite frankly, I can't think of a better racetrack to put here in round two. I think this actually really puts the onus on the drivers this evening to keep the car on the racetrack. We saw a few guys using the wall last week. You can't do that here. You don't have a wall outside of every single corner to kind of bump you back onto the race course. You go a little too wide, you've got a punishing curb and then a lot of grass or gravel depending on where you are on the racetrack, especially if you go deep into Tamburello or Villeneuve. Itotosa, there's a long gravel trap and then a hard wall eventually that you'll hit. A lot of very technical pieces and parts of this racetrack. Do want to mention the top Porsche 911 GT3 Cup lap time set by Gustavo Ariel on all of iRacing. And that, I think, is impressive and spells disaster for the pro field here in a little bit. But let's talk about our standings coming into this evening. First up, the amateur class, as they are first up on the track. Chris Sanchez opened up with a win last week. He's already leading practice, and he's got 3 points up on John Kroom already.
Yeah, absolutely. I think last week we had a show for Chris. He just led every single practice session, the only practice session actually, qualifying, led every single lap in the race. He had a commanding lead throughout the race and absolutely controlled it. So, obviously he's a driver to look forward today. But obviously, Andrew, as you mentioned, it's a different racetrack. I feel like the drivers should be less afraid of the circuit this time around. So we could see a lot of movement up and down the standings. And that's obviously all we want for better season racing for these guys.
It's good to see everyone out there in the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch chats. And a shout out to Restream, by the way. Getting the chat out to everybody. I love that. I can just type in one line, hit enter, and it goes out to everybody on all platforms. Glad to have you all watching as you take a look here at the amateur standings coming into this evening, provided by Victorum. A big shout out to those guys, and we'll talk more about Victorum here soon. A couple of drivers that stand out to me on this top 20 list are going to have to be Joe Nagy down in 5th. He's been a long-time driver here now in the amateur standings, amateur class, and I feel like he's got to be a top 3 this season, but you do also have a pretty crowded top 3 of Chris Sanchez, John Kroom, Milan Harris, and you've got to eventually add other guys in that category like Joshua Lyon, Ilya Speaker, Billy Bowerman that we've seen for seasons on end, and how about new guys? Charles Jose, Bjorn Stange, Adam Ballard, a bunch of new guys in this top 10 that are really worth talking about. How about Clarence Rosa down in 14th? Maybe a little lower than he probably should be one race in, but he's got 7 more races to move up the standings. Samuel Bernardi off to a decent start in the 13th spot. Gary Weaver, our very own Gary Weaver, down on 17th. Hopefully he moves up the order a little bit. Practice, 17th in practice as well, so at least he's staying consistent to this point in the season. Let's talk about our pro standings, though. After one race back in Detroit last week, and here we go, Dalton Zavadil with that win. Big drama in the final 10 minutes in turn number 11 last week, and Dalton was the benefactor.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, Andrew, we know, such the tightness of the field, the tightness of the points. Those 4 points actually mean a lot after round number one. If he can keep up, the consistency of just, outscoring obviously the opponents, even by 1 point, it could make a difference at the end. But obviously, you can see right there, Gustavo and Scott tied with points. Stu Romagnola and Ricardo Rico as well tied. So a lot could change. And obviously, the Pro-Am, Thomas Rayleigh leading by just 2 points from Rob. It's a close field, and obviously 3 points from Adam and John Sadlak. It's going to be an interesting Pro and Pro-Am race later on today, and wow, I just cannot wait to get it on.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the pro guys here in a little bit. Here's a look at our season schedule. Of course, round 2, Italy this evening. Next week, we go to Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama. Then we go out to Norway for round 4, Redskogen Motor Center, a new track for us, a new track on iRacing, less than a year old, at least on the sim. That's going to be exciting. And then Monza. I can't get over the fact that we are going to the combined layout with no chicanes for round 5, right on the far side of the halfway point through the points-paying season. That is a scary, fun idea for round 5. Then, of course, Interlagos, Germany, and Sebring to round out the schedule with the bonus race, the All-Star race, happening at Long Beach this season. Glad to have you all here. Qualifying opening up on the way, well, on track, in fact, as everybody headed out to the racetrack. Jay Robinson, one of the first, and we're just going to look through all of these beautiful paint schemes as these guys get on track. John Kelly in car 66 out of the Carolina Club. There's a look at his Enterprise 66. Jeffrey McDonald, a very bright red and green, number 13. Clarence Rosa here for Empire Racing. Brian Robinson in the 123 car. Avon Dorsey now over at Rockefeller Racing, a new team addition there. John Kroom, a longtime driver for Rockefeller Racing. Good to see him in car 45 this evening. Here's Gary Weaver, our very own. I said it last week, I'll say it again this week, we need to get a Pit Stop TV logo on that machine, but looking good is Gary with that blue chrome on the sides of his Porsche 911. Here's Milan Harris in car 69, Samuel Bernardi in car 212, Ilias Speaker out here in car 06, the list goes on.
Yeah, you can see number 76 of Don Gottlieb just entering, looks like turns 1, 2, and 3. Volker Krebs, the number 53 from Canada. You can see it right there. I'm not pretty sure if that's the North American mascot, Andrew, but Chip Witt in the 171 Porsche. Looks like he's either finishing up his lap or starting a new one. Charles Jose in the number 100 Porsche as well. Looks like he was just exiting turn 7.
And I want to mention, Charles was not, I believe, a part of Rockefeller Racing last week. He is a part of Rockefeller Racing esports team this week, and that is interesting.
It is a beautiful livery as well. Yeah, I don't recall seeing that car in those colors last week. You can see right there, Wendell Lira, Joey Raymer, the number 76 as well, just coming up to the final sector. Philip Bederka, this is a name we're used to, Andrew, the number 70.
Yes. Over at Move Over Racing, a long-time name here in the North American Racing League, along with Keith Wilfred, brand new out of Canada. William Love, a newer driver as well, from the Wrong Stuff Racing in car 67. Brian Long, one of his teammates over at the Wrong Stuff. How about Rodrigo Arantes from Brazil in car 14, a very Brazilian livery. And we've got Chris Sanchez, points leader after week 1 at Detroit last week in car 3. Bjorn Stange here in car number 2 from Shut Up and Drive It. How about Jay Davis in car 08, Rockefeller Racing Zone? And we have a bunch of times now rolling in. We've got to go through the rest quickly. Joe Nagy, Adam Bauer, Rockefeller Racing as well. Sean Patterson not on track yet. Here's Kleber Tavares there in car 92 from Epic Fail Motorsport. There's Billy Bowerman, Justin Delgado from M Squad. Dean Kerr, also from M Squad, and then Nick Pollard, Kerry Corcoran, and finally, Skylar McKnight in the pit lane currently, needing to get back out on track. Interesting, by the way, I noticed right there, who was it? There was one driver I noticed that I did not realize was on a certain team, and I'm trying to get back to him. I gotta figure out who it was. I completely forgot. Anyways, I'll find him eventually. Here we go. Epic. That's what it was. Kleber, I did not realize he was over on Epic Fails Motorsports. They swept the top of Pro-Am last week in a very, very impressive run from Thomas Rayleigh and Rob Pendergrast. Congratulations once again to those guys. Hopefully we're talking to them later on after the Pro-Am race. But as far as who's quick, no surprise, Milan Harris, top of the board.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the gap, Andrew. 1.2 seconds after the first lap. He is pushing to the limit. And I'm actually even more surprised. You can see the gap. Second, third, and fourth are separated by less than, half a tenth of a second. So if it wasn't for Milan Harris, would have an extremely tight top 3. But obviously, he just came in. Looks like he put a lot of practice in, and well, is just absolutely blitzing the field. You can see it right there. Bernardi, the number 212, 1.2 seconds behind. But can he improve, Andrew? Can he beat the number 69 Porsche of Milan Harris as he exits the final corner? Now, just keeping the pedal to the metal.
John Kroom goes second that lap as he heads into Tamburello now on a new lap on lap number 3. Charles Jose to the line in car 100. Let's see what he can do if he moves up the order at all. Does he pick up? The answer is no. That lap was invalid. Same for Joe Nagy last time through, actually. Avon Dorsey now up to the 4th position. Adam Ballard up to 5th. And boy, Rockefeller Racing is taking over this amateur class.
Yeah, looks like their new Red Bull. With the new Red Bull of just amateur class, just absolutely dominating.
But they've also added a ton of drivers. I think that they've got Milan Harris out front. They've got John Kroom second. They've now got Avon Dorsey in 3rd. Adam Ballard in 4th. That's 4 so far. Sorry, in 5th. You got, let's see, Charles Jose there in 7th. Ilya Speaker in 8th, now 9th. Joe Nagy in 10th. That is 7 of the top 10.
That's the Red Bull Drivers Academy then. You see, it's really good, really efficient, and you can see they're putting in the work, and it's really paying off for them, which is really good to see as we're on board here with Nagy. And I think Sanchez just jumped to 2nd place, just 0.2 of a second behind, but you can see right there, you can see just how much he's pushing with the track temperature at 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Not too crazy, is it, Andrew?
No, it's not. It's earlier in the day, 75 degrees in the air, 80 degrees on track, not too hot, not too shabby. Pretty ideal conditions, honestly, for a May day here in Italy. As car number 3 works into Piratella, turn number 9 and 10, down to Acqua Minerale. A lot of really iconic corners here at Imola. I'm going to struggle with a couple of these corner names, but down around turns 10 and 11, Milan Harris got even faster. He's now up by 0.4 over Chris Sanchez as that lap is going to come to a close for car 3. Here's a look at your provisional pole sitter.
Just really good. You can see the car is tuned in. He's tuned in as well to the track, Andrew. 0.4 of a second. It's a big gap. The number 7 of Dorsey looks like he does not improve barely. You can see the lap was inside the same 10th, but not enough to improve. Nagy looks like he just started another lap. Billy Bowerman, I don't think he improved as well. 1.5 seconds behind. And he's just shy of the top 10, actually, by, 0.03 of a second.
Yeah, very, very close. 31 1,000ths, if you will. It goes all the way down to that last mark, but very, very close to Ilya Speaker in 10th. Kleber Tavares just moved up into the 4th position ahead of Samuel Bernardi. So a very fast lap for car 92. And in a field of 35 cars, man, you've really got to be hustling around here, even in the amateur class, to be up in the top 5, top 10 or so. Gary Weaver on track in car 75, position 14. This is his 4th lap, and I believe his qualifying run then is done, but he sits now 15th spot, as I believe that was Bowerman or Bjorn Stange, potentially. I think it was Bjorn that moved up into the 13th position. Here's Rodrigo Rantes across the line. 16th quick now for car 14.
Just over 2 seconds behind the leader. You can see it right here. Wilfred as well in the number 48. 2.1 seconds behind the leader. Still putting in those good laps, Andrew. I feel like some of those drivers might be shy. It's so easy to get an off track and invalidate your whole qualifying lap. So sometimes it's just better to take a bit easier, lose a few tenths of a second here and there, but make sure you get a good qualifying spot, then risk it all and start from the bottom. You can see right here, Raymer, the number 76, he does not improve this lap, just nearly 2/10 of a second slower than his fastest lap, but just trying to put in the laps. Meanwhile, McKnight, still no time on the board, Andrew, the number 17.
Yeah, Skylar McKnight, a couple of off tracks, it looks like lap 1. So trying to set a lap time here on lap number 2, down to Acqua Minerale in car 17. This is corner 9, corner 10, and 11. Up the hill now as Billy Bowerman shoots up the leaderboard to 6th position from outside the top 10. Beautiful lap for car 302. Chris Sanchez, by the way, is on a flyer as well. His 3rd lap, but it's not going to count, it looks like. Well, if it does, it'll be very much off pace. Something wrong there for car 3 that time around. Rodrigo Rantes also on a flyer. We'll see if he can do something here. From position 16 currently, he's headed down to Ravazza.
Yeah, you can see the last sector right here, downhill braking. And
that's it.
Yeah. He didn't lock up, at least.
Well, yeah, that is good news. Didn't lock up there into the final couple of corners. Let's take a look at our race details for today's event, at least the amateur race. Provided by Whiplash Media Sim Cams, a 30-minute amateur race, 80% fuel limit, and fixed setup means we do not expect a pit stop, and that keeps it a little more simple for these amateur guys. I really like that addition, that change here. I think that's more in line with Porsche Cup seasons of the past, but it's different from the GT3 season we saw over the winter, and I really like that. Keeping it a little more simple for these amateur guys. Just a straight up 30-minute sprint race. Really enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just allows the drivers to push, to the limit. Don't need to worry about fuel. No need to fuel save. Maybe just look a little bit after the tires, but not really that much. And here, there we go. The race keys, Andrew. We were talking this beforehand, before the start, at the start of the broadcast. Clean start is very important. Easy on the curbs. We know how easy it is to get damage. Minimizing off tracks. We saw in qualifying how important that is, and obviously giving space to your opponents, to your rivals, is very important to avoid any sort of crashes around Imola.
Let's go through it. Some of you are starting grid. Milan Harris on pole in car 69. Fastest of the bunch. Chris Sanchez will start from second. John Kroom with third. Cleber Tavares starting from fourth position. Starting fifth in your top five. How about Samuel Bernardi in row number 3 alongside Billy Bowerman? Avon Dorsey, car 7, matches the starting position. Adam Ballard starts from 8th. Brian Long, Joe Nagy, that's row 5.
Starting in 11th place, we're going to have Charles Jose, the number 100, and the number 06 of Elias Speaker starting in 12th place. 13th place goes to Bjorn Stange, the number 2, and number 13 of Jeffrey McDonald in 14th place. 15th place, we're going to have Gary Weaver, the number 75, and Rodrigo Arantes in 16th place, the number 14, and it looks like that's all we have time for.
That it is. It always happens quick here in the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Series with these standing starts, and just like that, green flag is out. A couple of slow starts in the midfield, but already a crash on the home stretch. That was one of the M Squad Porsches, it looks like, maybe. Everybody else, though, down to the first couple of corners and into Tamburello nicely. Now we've got some crashing. I see a shut-up-and-drive-it machine around, and everybody tackling these first couple of corners with caution. A few of them with a little less caution than the rest as we head down to Variante Villeneuve for the first time.
You can see another fast chicane, just like turns 2 and 3 now. We do expect a little bit of contact, but looks like we don't have. Everybody kept it clean through here. You can see the drivers almost going 3 wide through turn 7, Andrew. That's obviously a very difficult spot. Very easy to lock up as well, but looks like everybody makes it through. Still 2 wide action. One car going really off into the gravel trap on the second chicane, but looks like everybody now kind of taking it a little bit easy. Maybe they saw the incidents and now they're thinking, all right, it's a 30-minute race. Let's take it a bit easier through lap 1.
Here's a look at your entire field coming down into turn number 9. Sorry, turn 11, rather. Had those numbers wrong, actually. This is Aquaminerale, 11, 12, and 13. Down at the kind of lowest point of the mid portion of the lap, and already up to Variante Alta is the front of the field. Another really tricky point of racetrack. I love these curves, though. Oh, and there's a trouble. Car 67. That was William Love deep into Variante Alta. There's car 67 through the grass, trying to get back going. Don Gottlieb, it looks like, was a car involved with that in car 73. Now falling back a little ways as this first lap comes to a close for our race leaders up front. Milan Harris has a big-time lead already.
Yeah, massive lead. We saw them exiting, I think it was the second chicane, yeah, Variante Villeneuve. They were nose to tail, and you can see right there almost a second already clear of Sanchez, the number 69 of Milan Harris. So a really good first lap for him. And you can see right here, Andrew, the field kind of spreading out. We do have a few battles. We have a smoking car in the pit lane, but you can see everybody now, I think, spread out in a safe manner, I think.
Yeah, let's go back and take a look at what happened there, lap number 1. We've got to go back a couple of times in this replay, I think, but we'll be able to find some of the action on this opening lap. This is in Tosa, so we'll go back a little bit further, but we'll be able to see kind of what was going on to the first set of real corners. Tamburello here, and tricky piece of racetrack for sure. A little trickier for some than others as it all just kind of piles up all at once. Looks like Bjorn Stange was caught out, and I don't recall the car that was there with him.
I saw the bright red Porsche. forget the driver's name, but I think he just broke a little bit on the grass, Andrew, and that was enough to unsettle the car. We have right here. Oh, you can see right there, Bjorn, I think, took the normal braking zone, but unfortunately, a driver behind him just had to take avoiding action, missed the braking zone by a little bit, went into the grass, and then the car was under control and hit Bjorn. But then we had more cars going off through the next chicane.
Yeah, and that was Jeffrey McDonald in the 13 car, the bright red and green machine that we talked about earlier. This is a look at some of the action through Villeneuve, and it's hard to say exactly where things went wrong for some of those guys up to Tosa, just kind of with the mid portion of the field. And, well, not too bad. Oh, and that was the car we saw way out in the gravel. That was Joey Raymer behind the rest of the field. Hard to say what happened to him. He actually, I think, was the car that had the crash on the front stretch there from the start. So we'll get a look at this for Raymer, rather.
Yeah, we saw a few cars getting involved just after the flag dropped, essentially. And you can see right here the number 76. We're going to take a look at his start to see if he maybe just spun up the tires a lot. And looks like so far it's clean. Does get taken out by someone else. Oh, wow. Does the car rejoin? Oh, yeah, the car unfortunately bounced off the wall, and he had nothing to do with it, and unfortunately got taken out.
I'm not sure which Moradnis, I think it was Moradnis car. It might not have been. I'm not sure which car that was that had that big moment to start all of that. But anyways, we move on as it's now lap 3, and our leaders are silently way out in front of the field, it seems, really getting spread out early.
Yeah, Milan is essentially doing what Sanchez did last week, just essentially checking away soon and just controlling the pace from there. You can see already 3.7 seconds, Andrew. And this is a good, I think this is going to be amazing for the championship. If you remember last week's interview, Sanchez said this was one of his favorite tracks. And, well, looks like Milan Harris got the better of him. Meanwhile, Charles Jose, the number 100, looks like he went wide on the exit of Aqua Minerale.
That he did. That's a tough run up the hill to Alta for car 100, but he slots into 22nd. It's going to be a day to forget for sure, and hopefully he is able to come back from it. Up ahead of these guys, here's a big battle. Rodrigo Arante is getting passed up there in Ravazza by Ilya Speaker, and now having to deal with Adam Ballard from behind. This is going to be tough.
Oh, yeah, you can see the number 29 has to take the line through the final corner. Rodrigo essentially closing the door a little bit, Andrew, but you can see now the number 14 is going to be on the outside for both corners, and I think he's going to have to yield this position. And you can see them going side by side, and yeah, there we go. The Brazilian just has to yield the position on the outside, ends up losing quite a bit of time, but does so in a safe manner. One car was in the gravel, and I'm not quite sure who that is. You can see just right there rejoining, so a few extra drivers having issue on the braking.
Looks like that was a lapped car, a Rockefeller Racing machine, maybe Jay Robinson or... No, that was Joey Raymer, actually, who was already a lap down in 32nd spot. Way out there and very slow. This is a hazard to the cars coming up behind. Hopefully he's able to stay out of the way. Scary moment for some of these guys approaching. As it looks like they will navigate with caution as actually they go side by side. This is Skylar McKnight out in the dirt. Oh, man. Position 27 now. That was Bjorn Stange and John Kelly racing as Brian Robinson has trouble up ahead into Aqua Minerale. That is tough for car 123. Oh, man. It's a ruthless place here at Imola.
Yeah, absolutely. No room for mistakes. I mentioned, this is a track where drivers can take a little bit more freedom, just to attack a little bit more because they don't have the concrete barriers. But Andrew, well, if you make a mistake right here, if you break a little bit over the white line, well, you have grass and your car is just going to be sliding uncontrolled towards a barrier. So I think it's a knife. I don't know. I think it's just, you have a little bit more freedom, but you also have to be really careful on a track like this.
That's for sure, and you already kind of talked about it. I think Milan Harris, in a world of his own right now, and really making a good case for him to be promoted mid-season to Pro-Am. I mean, this is insane. He's already out by 4 seconds over Chris Sanchez, and this is a fixed setup series as well. These guys are all in the same setup, same car. Everything's identical. It just comes down to brake bias and driving style, and clearly Milan Harris has got something that nobody else has right now. a worthy mention here, by the way, to the Brazilian in third place, Tavares. Really solid day for him so far. Bernardi, same deal. This top 5 really doing some good work. And we've got 2 guys, I think, that are really worth talking about here on screen. Bernardi and Bowerman both were not in the top 5 last week at Detroit. Both were in the top 5 today.
Yeah, so that's excellent to see. Drivers again getting more comfortable with the league. Obviously, Bowerman, it's he's used to it. He's raced before on NARL, but just seeing these guys on the top 5 being more comfortable attacking and showing good results is not obviously better for us, Andrew, as broadcaster, and obviously better for those watching at home, but also really good for them as well. Having that extra confidence, just seeing a good result in front of them, developing a really good racecraft. So.
Problems in the back. Car 100 turned around. Oh, man, that was close. Also, Keith Wilfred in trouble and a few others. This is all down on Aquaman Rally in different parts of it. There's Wilfred way off course. And Charles Jose is still slow, trying to get back up at the pace. Now racing Nick Pollard as he rejoins there through the mid portion of the complex. And let's go back and take a look.
Everything just kicks off all at once. And we're going to take a look at exactly what happened to Charles Hosea. You can see this is up to turn number 9, and this is where he had his issue, Andrew. He just goes a little bit wide. The backhand just, says pretty much nope to him. He locks up the car, waits for a good spot, and you can see he's waiting a little bit. Meanwhile, Keith Wilfred had troubles, as you mentioned, in Aquaman Rally, and he's way off in the tire barrier.
Yeah, that he is. Now we had an issue for Brian Robinson a little further up the road. Right after all this happened, Brian Robinson was one of the first cars actually to pass Keith Wilfred, and then something happens here. It's a Brian and Bjorn Stange. I think it's going to happen down in Rivatsa, as Bjorn Stange now live would be down in 30th position. Just had a couple of big moments in succession, so we'll watch this for the Floridian down into turns 17 and 18, and sure enough, that is way deep and contact made.
You saw the 1, 2, 3 just giving him a little bit extra room on the inside. Andrew was more than enough to Bjorn make the corner, but I think he just essentially target locked Brian and unfortunately sent him into a spin. He ended up losing quite a few positions, but I don't think he has substantial damage to his car.
More problems. Jeffrey McDonald, midfield, racing with Gary Weaver. This is Tosa. And what happens here on exit? Just gets loose. Oh, right in front of William Love. Actually, that was not William Love. That was, I think, Brian Long.
Oh, and you can see right there, Jeffrey McDonald almost with the dangerous rejoin. You can see him just spinning up the tires, trying to get the car spun around, but unfortunately wasn't allowing him to do that. Meanwhile, we skip to this battle right here. Rodrigo Arantes chasing Ballard. You can see right through the final 2 corners, Andrew. If he gets a good run out of the final corner, which looks like he just doesn't at this time, he could have gotten a chance down into turn number 1. Now he's essentially going to have to line up a move once again. And as you can see right there, the gap increasing 4.58 tenths of a second, and now decreasing as the slipstream kicks in.
Yeah, finally back up to live racing with Arantes and Ballard. Ballard, by the way, close to his teammate Ilya Speaker, so really a chain of cars. And even a teammate behind these guys for Rockefeller Racing, John Kroom. So just Rockefeller drivers all over the place as Don Gottlieb has trouble down here in Rivatsa. Oh, no! Gets hit by Skylar McKnight on track out. Oh, my goodness. And now Charles Hosea has problems. He's into the pit lane.
I think he might take the fast repair. I don't think he sustained any damage from that spin injury. I didn't see anyone hitting him. This is going to be interesting to see what happens to the number 100. Yeah, as he comes to a stop, you can see right there the car was repaired. And he's stationary. Looks like a little bit of fuel, and, well, away he goes.
He might have bent a toe link. Might have bent a suspension component there. It didn't seem like there was much damage visually, but you never know under the hood or under the fender what's gone wrong for some of these guys. So that might have been the incident or the case there. Is nope, he is calling it a day post fast repair there. So car 100 back to the pit lane. As here we go. Adam Ballard has been passed back by Arantes for the 9th position. And here comes John Kroom. Gonna make it a fight.
Yeah, you can see they're just going down towards turns 16, 17, and 18, Rivatsa. And looks like no moves are going to be made just yet. And you can see right there the Brazilian taking a little bit of a tighter line. But, well, they went on their way. Meanwhile, we can see right here McDonald looks like having more issues. And, well, one more car going wide. So looks like Aqua Minerale seems to be the trouble spot for the drivers tonight.
Yeah, for sure, as that was Bjorn Stange passing up Nick Pollard, and Dean Kerr, as McDonald now enters Alta with a car alongside. That is the lap 76 of Joey Raymer. As John Kroom, Adam Ballard, sure enough, they swapped spots. John Kroom goes on through, and this is a really weird spot to see John in. He nearly won the championship in amateur last GT3 season, nearly had it closed at Daytona. Unfortunately, couldn't line it up, couldn't get the points he needed. Comes into last week, puts himself second in the standings, second in the race, and now week number 2 is down here in 10th. That is not ideal at all.
No, absolutely not. Especially when, you know, first and third place are first and second place in this race. So, yeah, it's a really tough spot for John to be in. And hopefully he can bounce back. Still has 16 minutes to go, Andrew. He still can make some inroads. You know, the cars are relatively close to one another. If he can make the move past Arantes relatively quickly, you can see just how quickly he closed up to the number 14. Maybe he could catch up the drivers ahead. So, looks like on race pace, his car is working well. Looks like maybe it was just a little bit of a struggle in qualifying.
This is a rather intriguing battle as problems for Gary Weaver, the broadcaster, way out in Aqua Minerale, the exit there. And he's going to rejoin and drop down to 16th and 17th spots as John Kroom, right as we left him, had a problem out of Alta and lost a lot of time.
That is commentator curse once again hitting Andrew. That's really good to see early on in the day.
Yeah, first it hit the broadcaster, it hit Gary, and then it hit John.
It went everything all at once. It's just crazy. And you can see right here going up to turn 7, Tosa, and we're going to see exactly what happened to Gary. I think it was on Aqua Minerale, his trouble, wasn't it, Andrew? As he comes up to turn number 9, everything is set. And yeah, I think it's just going to be on that section. It's just the most difficult section of this racetrack.
I see now where he put the Pit Stop TV logo there, big on the wing, as big as he possibly could have got it, just got out into the grass and goes deep into the corner. The problem, though, I got to find him again, John Kroom happens here on corner exit out of Variante Alta, and he goes for a slide and lost about 3 seconds to Arantes and to Adam Ballard. A lot of time lost there.
You can just see how much he was pushing to make that mistake, and unfortunately, it just really backfired. So now he has to essentially do it all over again. Back down in 11th, looks like he's 3 seconds away from Ballard. He's definitely trying to catch up, as looks
Aqua
like
Minerale.
Yeah, just more issues. It's a crazy hot spot right there for the drivers.
Just keeps getting worse and worse for drivers coming through that set of corners. 11, 12, and 13. And this was the Move Over Racing 73 of Don Gottlieb. Up front, it is still all Milan Harris with 14 minutes to go and time elapsing. Boy, we are counting through this race quick. No pit stops for these amateur guys. I like this sprint race format. You can maybe even shorten it down to 25. Oh no! Problems for a career day in the works for Kerry Corcoran. This out of Variante Alta, I believe, or was that coming up to... I think that was out of Alta, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. They're coming down to Rivazza. And yeah, you can see right there, tightens it up. Looks like Kerry's going to have to back off. He's going to have to be on the outside. He's going to have to yield more positions. So really unfortunate for the number 8, but it looks like some drivers might have to check up a little bit, Andrew. So he might have a chance to get a few positions back as they head into, well, the start-finish line in the first few corners.
This is a really fun group of cars and a side-by-side battle between Kerry Corcoran and one of our broadcasters, Gary Weaver. Side-by-side side drafting, trying to get draft from the cars ahead as they head down to Variante Tamburello, and Gary is going to back out and give that spot to Kerry Corcoran, who now sets his sights on Wendell Lira and on Brian Long. But Gary is far from done as he had a much better sequence of corners, and car 75 has got some pace.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. Hopefully he can keep this up, but you can see right here going up through the second chicane Variante Villeneuve, now heading into Tosa, and you can see just how close he's getting, Andrew. It looks like this group is just fantastic to see. How many cars are here? 6? Oh, big
6 or so, yeah.
Manages to control. So yeah, 6 cars separated by less than 4 seconds, 5 seconds. This is absolutely amazing.
Wendell Lira and Brian Long here nose to tail through Peralta. I believe that's what it's called. It's no, Piratella, that's what it is. Turn number 9 as they head down to Aqua Minerale, 11, 12, and 13. They all kind of squeeze. They all kind of spread back apart. Really fun just watching lines of cars work around a circuit like Imola and see how each line differs, how they get a little closer, get a little further apart, move around a little bit throughout the course of the lap as these guys continue to battle just outside the top 10. Now, we have to go forward, actually. You might question it for a moment. We have to go up to Chris Sanchez because while he is still 3 seconds back of Milan Harris, well, he's no longer 4 seconds back. He was about 4 seconds behind, now closing in here with 12 minutes to go. We shouldn't be to where I don't think we'll even be to a spot where, in Formula One, you don't refill fuel, so you have to manage that fuel limit. I don't think we're even that kind of territory. An 80% fuel limit is a long time on the racetrack. Something's going wrong for Milan Harris here.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if something is going wrong for Milan or something is going terribly right for Sanchez, Andrew. You can see right there the gap to Tavares is 12 seconds from the leader, obviously 10 seconds to Sanchez. So maybe the number 3 just managed to get himself dialed in with the car and the track and is now able to put in some consistently faster laps than Harris and just closing that gap slowly but surely. You can see right there it's still 2.5 seconds. So, maybe it's a mistake, a small mistake here and there, and that's just chipping away from the lead. Meanwhile, you can see right here Bailey Bowerman closing into Bernardi. And I feel like this has been a battle that's, it's brewing race long, isn't it, Andrew? I don't think Bowerman got past by Bernardi. He's just still trying to pass the number 212, and well, he might have his chance now.
Yeah, this has been brewing for a long time and has finally become beer, if you will, because Samuel Bernardi has slowly been catching Tavares out front, lock up all the way down into Ravazza, and there goes car 212 way out into the gravel. Problems for Samuel Bernardi. There goes Avon Dorsey, and the fight that had grown closer and closer as the race went on is quickly blown apart as it's now a second, nearly 2 seconds between Tavares and Bowerman, and that means Bowerman can't even reap the rewards of the draft.
Yeah, but I think with that mistake that we just saw from Bernardi, Andrew, Bowerman might just have, essentially a curse down his car right now. He's gonna be full of confidence as he was able to put the 212 under pressure and make him force him into a mistake. Meanwhile, we're seeing a battle right here through turn number 1. This is Kroom closing into Arantes. Now, once again, Andrew, Kroom closing in. Let's see if this time he can make the move stick and pull away. Meanwhile, you saw right there, I think it was the leader, just 2.5 seconds still, but you can see right here the number 45, Andrew, has pace, but unfortunately that mistake definitely set him back.
Yeah, on board now with John Kroom, as Jay Davis actually just lost a lot of spots in the midfield. We've got a lot going on around the racetrack. It's difficult to manage it all, but inside of 10 minutes, here's the fight for 9th position. John Kroom up to Pirotella, right on the back end of Rodrigo Arantes. And yeah, there was a comment about that 3-4-5 battle that was getting exciting. It got exciting, and then we saw it all just kind of come to a precipice, and the mistake for Bernardi really changes it all. Now, the fight for 9th position, John, right on Arantes. This is just so much fun, again, to watch these guys through these corners, see how the lines differ, the braking points, the throttle points, and the pitch of the race car at times just differs between driver to driver. And John Kroom is on the offensive here, and it's making it exciting, again, for the 9th position. The closest battle inside the top 10. Behind these guys, Volker Krebs has company still from Brian Long, Wendell Lira, Gary Weaver, and more. As Jay Davis and Kerry Corcoran have kind of fallen to the back end of this group. There is a look at Jay Davis. A bit of damage to the nose of that number 08. And those are the best battles on the racetrack currently on lap 13 of an expected 18.
So only 5 laps to go for these drivers. You can see right here, Kroom still closing in. He might try something down to turn number 2, Andrew. I feel like he should try and maybe forcing down the brakes. You can see right there, just being, I think, a little bit extra cautious after what happened last time around. He was chasing the number 14, but you can see right there, Arantes essentially just opens up the gap a little bit, but Kroom is quick to essentially catch back, and just really put his bumper on the rear bumper of the number 14. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how that evolves. Meanwhile, you can see right here the number 53 losing a little bit, and you can see there Brian Long now looking for a way past, and he's gonna find his way down the inside as they head into this I think it's the second variante. Yes, it is.
Yes, right into Villeneuve, and big pass there for Brian Long to get by Volker Krebs. They're going to bring Wendell Lira and Gary Weaver up into the fight as well. Gary backs out as Wendell Lira moves around a little bit into Tosa, and that's always scary moving onto a braking zone. Thankfully, those guys are able to maneuver nicely and not have a run-in. But now Wendell is definitely, I think, a little bit desperate here to get by the 53 car, does not want to get held up at this stage in the race, and I feel like Volker has just been a little behind the pace of the drivers behind him for the last few laps, and that kind of shows it how quickly Brian Long set that up and got on by the 53 car there through Variante Villeneuve, and now it's an opportunity for the 11 car.
Yeah, and you can see right there, Brian essentially just pulling away, and you can see right there the 11 kind of getting frustrated, maybe just trying to find a way desperately to essentially fight again. And you can see the number 75 is almost rear ends. We almost had a collision right there, Andrew. So yeah, it's backing up a little bit, the drivers, and well, it's just essentially sometimes causing near chaos.
Once again, a mistake that lap from John Kroon, but here comes Arantes down to the pit lane. Problems and probably a drive-through at this stage in the race for car 14. Just as John Kroon made a mistake, he gets the spot by default.
And it's something that we mentioned, right, Andrew? Be careful of instance. Really easy to essentially go a little bit over the white line and get that 1X off track. And
there we go, minimize off tracks.
Sometimes that happens. You just push a little bit too much, and with 6 minutes to go, you might get a drive-through. And it might not be the last one we see tonight, Andrew.
No, there was a bit of chatter in the league Discord over the week about how many we might see, how many penalties we'd see, drive-throughs for incidents, and the over-under was set at 10.5, basically up to 10 was the under. 11 or more is the over. I'd be curious, actually, now that we've seen one, and we still have 5 minutes to go here in the AM race, do you take the over or the under?
I'm going to go for the under. I'm going to be optimistic this time around. What about you?
You know, I think I would take the under as well. I think coming into the day, I might have said the over, 11 or more, but I think I'll take the under now. And I've actually nearly forgotten. We have 5 minutes to go. We've got to do the driver of the day here, JP. It's been a lot of fun watching these guys battle, but let's get a couple of nominations. I'll give you yours two first.
Oh, you're going to put me in the spot once
Always.
again. Oh, geez. All right. So I think we have to pick one of the top twos once again. It's a boring choice as the number 98 goes off. It's the boring choice. Oh, almost a collision right there. But you know, Andrew, when you are 15 seconds away from third place, I mean, it's just an easy pick. The second nomination, I'm gonna go for Billy Bowerman, 4th place.
So our social media guy, Emerson, has got to be on this. We've got Milan Harris and Billy Bowerman on that, it sounds like so far. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab Kleber Tavares as a nominee. He's been fantastic. We've just never seen him like this before. As well as still, I think, Samuel Bernardi. I know he's had a mistake or two. Had that big lockup down at Ravazza, but again, a new driver, new on the scene. We don't know much about these guys, really outperforming our expectations in round 2 and doing a fantastic job here in the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Series. So cars 69, 92, 212, and 302 are on that list. A couple of those guys are actually fighting for position right now, 3rd and 4th. You have Billy Bowerman, I have Kleber Tavares, and it's all up for vote over on YouTube. At least it will be here shortly as soon as Emerson can get that up. Meanwhile, 3.5 minutes to go. And things are getting tight. This is the battle between Bowerman and Tavares.
Yeah, I think Bowerman right now, Andrew, has a bit more pace than Tavares, but with 3 minutes to go, Tavares can afford to lose that little bit of pace and essentially just, well, defend the inside light just like he did, try to break off the toe a little bit. And you can see right here, the closing speed is a little bit higher for Billy Bowerman. He has to take that account, obviously heading into the braking zone to not lock up and obviously not hit Tavares, but you can see right there the number 92 is going a little bit wide, Andrew, a little bit sloppier on the apexes, and Billy was just able to close a little bit more and is just being able to put a bit more pressure on the Brazilian driver ahead.
That vote is now up over on the YouTube chat. Make sure to vote. You only have a couple of minutes left in this race, and then the time it takes us to read the results to get your vote in for driver of the day. Kleber Tavares in this battle And, oh, Wendell Lira, a drive-through. That makes it 2 now. Actually, no. Make it 4. We've seen similar drive-throughs now for Don Gottlieb and Charles Jose. We are up to 4 drive-throughs. Suddenly, JP, I might be a little more keen to take the over. We've still got 50 minutes of pro racing.
Yeah, and I feel like the pro race, by, I think, opposite logic, I feel like that one we're going to have more, not due to the time, just drivers taking a little bit more risk trying to find time. So I feel like that race we might find a lot more, proportionally speaking, drive-through penalties. Meanwhile, Andrew, these two, I feel like this battle is going to go down to the line if they don't make any mistakes. It's going to be exciting to watch. And
again, Cleber Tavares teammates with those guys that swept the top of the Pro-Am podium last week. Thomas Rayleigh and Robert Pendergrass. Those guys fantastic at Detroit last time out, leading now the top 2 spots over there in the Pro-Am standings. I'm excited to see what they can do here today at Imola. And man, a minute and a half to go. It looks like this is the 2 to go mark, because here's your race leader through Tamburello now. That means Tavares and Bowerman just took the 2 to go signal. 2 laps to go here in Italy.
So 2 laps for these guys to essentially find all the pace they can have. You can see there Milan extended his gap back to 4.5 seconds, Andrew. So he found...
Oh, a problem for Billy Bowerman through Tamburello.
Oh.
I think it was just a slide, no damage.
Oh, luckily for him, if he's just a slide, you can see right there, he lost a bunch of time. So Tavares is essentially going to have... Oh, and you can see right there, Andrew, I just talked about that the last lap.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking so much more speed. You have to take that into account, the braking zone. And unfortunately for him, I think he just caught himself out with the extra speed he was taking. Luckily for him, I still think he remains in 4th place. He does. Meanwhile, we have this battle heading into Tamburello.
Gary Weaver on Volker Krebs here for 12th position as... What the 4 drive-throughs, man. That is just a crazy number, as Gary really is all over the back end of Volker here. This is down into Variante Villeneuve. And going to be very tough going here for Gary, but he's been excellent here through the back end of that chicane, and he is, once again, a big run up to Tosa. He's going to go up the left side. Kerry Corcoran, though, going to fill to the inside. No opportunity there yet for Kerry, but this is going to be electric racing as we get close to the 1 lap to go mark. In fact, the white flag in the air, this time by... No, race over. That's it. Over. We never even got the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams. Race is over here, and Milan Harris goes to victory lane over Chris Sanchez. Cleber Tavares there in car 92. Billy Bowerman will go 4th, but not by much, over Avon Dorsey. And quickly, we get the checkers.
Wow, I thought we were going to have 1 extra lap just on the line, Andrew, but unfortunately, we either got robbed. But, well, now we have this more exciting battle. The number 53 leading this pack with just a handful of corners to go, Andrew. And you can see there's a lot of positions yet to be defined on this battle right here.
Yeah, we still have Kerry Corcoran and Rodrigo Arante. As we know, Rodrigo's faster, but can he make a pass down here at Avatsa? He's going to go up the inside, lock up there. Nearly got into Kerry Corcoran, but he keeps it nice. As Gary Weaver has one more chance to set up for the run to the checkers. And I saw that moment. Rodrigo is around. Jay Davis is going to go by. Wow, trouble right at the last moment for car 14, and that is how it ends. One car way out there. That was Volker Krebs. Gary beat him to the line.
Wow, barely. He almost finished rally cross style on the grass. You can see right here, I think that's him coming to a stop. And what a final lap we had, Andrew. We didn't even need an extra one.
Clarence Rosa also in trouble on the final lap. A whole lot just went on, and they're not done. Nick Polliard and Dean Kerr here, final 2 corners. They're a little too far apart, but at least within a second as they come around to wrap up our amateur race. 4 drive-throughs, so we've already got nearly half of what we need for the over. We're going to keep up with that over the course of the afternoon and evening. Let's go back quickly. I want to see that moment between Volker Krebs and Gary Weaver. Coming to the start-finish line, here it is out of Ravazza. Turn 18, this is turn 19 coming up. What happens here? Side by side to the line, and I think Volker just said, I don't want to turn.
Yeah, he crossed the finish line and was done with it, and he got hit from behind. That's how he finished up on that wall. So, yeah, I thought there was going to be contact between them, but looks like it was all clean.
And Volker beat Gary to the line by 2/1000ths of a second.
What? Wow, that's a photo finisher. I think that's has to be one of the not for the win, but one of the closest finish we had for position in a
Yeah,
while.
that matches NASCAR's closest finish ever. Let's take a look here at our unofficial race results after a long 30-minute race for some drivers, longer for some than others. Milan Harris to victory lane. Chris Sanchez second. Cleber Tavares there in third. Billy Barham in fourth. Avon Dorsey fifth. And of course, Milan, Chris, you are up first for interviews. It looks like they've both joined. So we'll get those two for our amateur interviews here in a moment. The rest of the top 10 on screen. Samuel Bernardi, Joe Nagy, Ilya Speaker, John Kroom, Adam Ballard. And when we finish reading these results, that's it for the driver of the day votes. You got to get those last minute votes in now over on YouTube. If you're watching, you have a couple of moments still as JP here's 11th through 20th.
11th place goes to Brian Long. Volker Kravitz finishes in 12th place. 13th place goes to Gary Weaver. Kerry Corcoran finishes in 14th ahead of Keith Wilfred. Jay Dave is going to finish in 16th place ahead of Sean Patterson. Bjorn Stange is going to finish in 18th place, Brian Robinson in 19th, and William Love Andrew in 20th place.
21st today, Wendell Linger just ahead of Nick Polliard and Dean Kerr, Jeffrey McDonald, Otto Rosa, and Rodrigo Arantes, it looks like, got another penalty right there at the end, will officially go, or just, I'm sorry, had that spin, that's right, Donna Ravazza completely forgot, ends up 26th for Rodrigo there. John Kelly, the first car, one lap down at 27th, Jay Robinson, 28th, Don Gottlieb and Charles Hosea, the rest of your top 35 more cars. You see Joey Raymer, Justin Delgado, Skylar McKnight, Chip Witt, and Philip Badurka, and that makes it final. Let's see, let's go over to the YouTube vote. And the driver of the day in amateur is Cleber Tavares, who goes third position. I think that's a pretty solid driver of the day here for round two in the amateur side. And, well, here is your amateur race winner, Milan Harris, once again up in the top two, but one spot better. Top three, so 2 spots better this week for you, Milan. A solid-looking number 69. You go to victory lane.
Man, it feels good. That might have been one of the most nervous races I've ever been.
Nervous? You were out there by 4 seconds.
Yeah, but Chris, hats off to him, man. He definitely has some passion. He was pushing. I could tell when I was watching the relative, and I was like, I love that. Let's race. It was good. My legs and arms were shaking at times. I had to start breathing and stuff like that, but that was good.
Well, already your coach is chiming in, saying he must have a pretty good one, and certainly you do. Of course, Stu helps you with where to put the car, how to get around the racetrack, but I'm curious, is part of the coaching how to manage that anxiety during the race?
No, we haven't really worked on anything like that with them. But Giuliano, aka Stu, with Morad coaching, man, I love those guys. They've been wonderful. But when you're in those sessions, they really say, okay, hey, this is what, we need to, they pick the most important things to work on, work with you, tell you how to, what you need to do. And most importantly, just kind of how to read the telemetry so that during the rest of the week, even when I'm not in coaching, I know what I need to be paying attention to, what I need to be fixing. And that's even further down the road. That helps me, from a year from now to try and get to the top of the pro league where I want to be. So.
Absolutely. Lessons, if you will, that will stick with you if your sim racing career. 17 laps. It seems like it came up just a little bit short of an 18th. But you get the race win here in round two. What does this spell for the rest of the season? Clearly off to a white-hot start as you head to Barber next week.
It's good. I love Barber's. That's literally in my backyard, about an hour away from me. I love that place. I've done a lot of karting on that track, and it's a good track. It's there's some scary sections in it, so it could be another good, interesting race. Yeah, hopefully me and Chris can keep it on 4 wheels and keep it at the front and out of trouble and just see who can win this at the end, really. So.
Absolutely. It already looks like a battle between you guys for the championship. Milan, congratulations to you and the rest of Rockefeller Racing. You guys were fantastic. It's a big win for you. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thank you very much, and shout out to Rockefeller Racing. Love those guys, and welcome Charles to the team.
There you go, Milan Harris, P1 today. JP, that means Chris Sanchez had to go second. Somebody had to finish second, and it was car number 3.
So, Chris, it was, essentially a quiet race for you. Started second, was second for the whole race. Tried to push to catch Milan. How was it from your point of view?
Yeah, it was pretty calm to start, and then it just got a little bit messy with off tracks and stuff. I think I was just a bit nervous trying to catch him and stay on track. That was a really tough race.
First place on the first race, second place on the second race. I mean, third place, not third place on the third race. How do you think you're gonna fare out in Barber now chasing Milan?
Yeah, I think we'll push each other to our limits, but I'm not too confident in this next one.
You mentioned you were a bit scared of the off tracks. Were you maybe in a little bit of the edge of getting a drive through towards the end of the race, or you had that under control?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was on the edge because I as soon as I got one off track, I thought I may as well just try and push as hard as I can to catch Milan, but didn't quite go that way.
Yeah, we saw the gap fluctuating. It was 4 seconds at the early stages of the race, dropped to 2.5. I'm assuming that's the point where you decided to really push the car, but then at the end kind of dropped off. Was that the part you're being cautious, I'm assuming?
Yeah, a little bit, and the tires were just gone by that point. Yeah.
All right, so that's good to know. At least the tires are now coming into effect, even on a 30-minute race. But yeah, I mean, man, first place in the first race, as I mentioned, second on the second. Hopefully you can bounce back on Barber. I know it's going to be a tricky one for you, but, well, we're wishing you all the best of luck.
Cool, thanks.
Absolutely. So there you go, Andrew. Chris Sanchez, I mean, a really solid race for him. Was chasing Milan Harris all the way to the line, and didn't work out for him this time, but second place, still a fantastic result.
That it is, and I want to give a shout out to Samuel Bernardi. Unfortunately, not enough time to talk to Samuel, but a really solid run for him today. P6 has joined the Discord the last couple of weeks, waiting for an interview just in case the top two didn't show up, but unfortunately for him, the top two did. A really solid run here. Let's talk more about this amateur class. As you can see, 6 races to go now for them. Next up, May 11th, Barber Motorsports Park. Going to be exciting. I wonder if one day maybe the races get split, we see maybe just one round of deviation. Wouldn't that be interesting? Send the amateur guys, I don't know, VIR maybe for round 3, the pro guys to Road America, who knows? But Barber for everybody next week, May 11th, that's going to be a lot of fun. Very technical, very sweeping, elevation change. Yep, it's a thing. Going to be tough for these Porsche Cup cars.
Absolutely. You know, we saw Chris already being a little bit worried about Barber. It's a tricky track. But it's an amazing one. Wasn't that the one that we just had the IndyCar race that Grosjean almost won?
Yes.
It was, right?
Yes.
It was a fantastic IndyCar race, and I'm pretty sure the NARL guys are going to do even better than the IndyCar just did.
Yeah, Barber, a very, very fun circuit for downforce cars, GT3, GT4, Porsche GT3 Cup cars, a little bit different, a little less aero to lean on, but it'll make it a lot of fun next week. But a big shout out to those who make it happen for us with the North American Racing League, as always. Infinite Racing Services, Maradnus Victorum, the new scoring partner here of the North American Racing League, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. And of course, those who make it happen for us behind the scenes in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. That is it for Race 1, but we still have pros on the way. Don't go anywhere. More racing here at Pit Stop TV in just a couple of moments.
My name is Scott Wright of North America, a Porsche Cup driver, broadcasted live by Pit Stop TV.
Hi, my name is John Sedlak, and I race for Firelight Esports in North American Racing League. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/diesel_dad.
Hello, I am Dino Filipa, sim racer from Argentina, current champion, and I will be competing in the championship for the ERS team and also providing the data for each race for the participant drivers.
Hey guys, I'm Marco Saavedra and I'm a NARL Porsche Cup driver representing Infinite Racing Services. I'm a race winner and multiple podium finisher on the last NARL GT3 season, so I'll be working to get even better results this championship on a different car. See you all on track.
Hi guys, I am Ricardo Rico from Spain. I drive with Zenit Esports and I will be doing this Porsche Cup season in the North American Racing League. I hope you can catch with us on the Pit Stop TV broadcast and we will try to give you a good show. See ya!
Hi, my name is Lubov. I'm full-time streamer, content creator, ambassador for Master and Excel Racing. And also, I'm North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver.
Hey guys, my name's Ryan Kerr. Looking forward to racing in NARL, broadcast by Pit Stop TV again this season. This time in the pro category after last season's good result. Racing again with Mirandas. Looking forward to seeing everybody out on track.
Hi, my name is David Schwartz. I'm 36 years old. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm representing the Mirandas M Squad. In real life, I'm the 2018 D Street Las Vegas region autocross champion, also an STCA time trial winner, and I've been sim racing for about 6 years.
Hi, I am Dalton Zavidal, driver for SimCity Racing and North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver. I am the 2021 Colorado Karting Tour iRacing Winter Series champion and the 2022 Season 1 Porsche Cup Pro-Am champion.
Olá, meu nome é Jackson Rezende, faço parte da Texaco Race by TK e sou piloto da North American Race League Porsche Cup.
Hey guys, Bruno Do Carmo here from Texaco Racing by TK, Pro World Championship license back in 2017, and now I'm a North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver.
Hello guys, my name is Gustavo Ariel and I'm Texaco Racing by Tony Canan driver, and I'll be driving on the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Championship. Let's go.
Welcome back to the virtual Imola. As well, amateur racing done for the day. That means pros and pro-ams are back in our focus. And last week, JP, I know you had your early exit, but did you happen to catch that oh-so-dramatic finish? Dino Filippa from Infinite Racing Services up the inside of Gustavo Ariel into turn 11 at Detroit. It did not end well. Dalton Zavadil on through. I wonder, do we have a repeat scenario today where we have a big dramatic moment potentially give the win to somebody surprising? It's hard to say, JP. Anything can happen at a place like Imola.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're Lawrence Zavadil and you're in third place chasing the leaders and you happen to go through turn 11, I'm pretty sure you want a repeat of what happened. But, I mean, if you're the leaders, I don't think you want it. If you're Gustavo Ariel, Dino Filippa, as you mentioned, I'm pretty sure you don't want a repeat of that. But it was an exciting race last week. Unfortunately, I as you mentioned, I had to have my early exit. But hopefully the drivers can put an even better show for us today.
I think there is definitely one in store. Let's take a look again at the track map here at Imola. Oh, so much fun. And I'm going to be honest with you, that amateur race made me fall further in love with this race course. Usually you think of Italy, you think of Monza, but maybe even Mugello, which is soon to come to iRacing at some point, hopefully this year in 2023. But really, Imola is one of the more classic circuits. It doesn't really come to mind as often, but honestly, I think I'm starting to prefer it to every other Italian circuit, whether it's Monza, Mugello, who knows what else. I am excited here for Imola here for the pro race.
Oh, absolutely. Monza, obviously, it's a nice racetrack to go, high speed, big braking zones. But, just having I think the diversity of corners that Imola has, the difficult corners, just like Acqua Minerale, the variantes that we have, it proved on the Pro-Am race, the amateur race, that it can be an exciting one. And now in this pro race, Andrew, I feel like it's going to be even more exciting. Higher stakes for the drivers, a longer race. We saw drivers struggling with 30 minutes. What will happen with 50 minutes? That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting here as we take a look at the pro standings brought to you by Victorum. And look at things, man. This is not at all what I would have expected coming into round 2, but it is only round 2, so a lot can change here today when everybody kind of gets their feet just that much more wet on the season. But Dalton Zavadil on top, man. Again, such drama to get the season going last week. It's hard to top.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A season opener with lots of drama, with contact between the leaders is obviously amazing. Now he leads by 4 points from Marco Saavedra and Gustavo Ariel. 5 points from Gustavo and Scott Reiser. So really close for them as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is all going to shape up after tonight's round. And obviously the Pro-Am, Andrew, even tighter. 2 points separating the leaders and 3 points separating the top 4. That's going to be even more exciting. So a lot to play for both classes here tonight.
That's for sure. I mean, if I was to go back through and kind of pick out my drivers that I'm looking at based on this, that just kind of stand out to me, of course, Dalton Zavadil, top of the list, but as well as Scott Reister, 4th place. Stu Romagnolo, I think Giuliano Romagnolo there in 5th also stands out. Ryan Kerr, Pro-Am champion in 7th. How about Love 46 in 8th? And newcomer to the series, Johan Sharanzi there in 10th. There's a few that really stand out on the pro side, as well as the Pro-Am side. How about John Sedlak from Firelight Esports there in the 4th position, and Rob Campbell, newcomer in 6th. But of course, the top 2 from Epic Fails Motorsports, EFM, Thomas Rayleigh, Rob Pendergrast winning and going 2nd last week at Detroit. They, of course, I think, win the award of standing out to me coming into today. One more look at the schedule before we get going here for qualifying. Round 3 next week at Barber, but round 2 today here at Italy at Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. Qualifying on track. And Marco Saavedra, one of the first out there in the Infinite Racing Services, number 99. We'll just take a look around the field as we typically do. Neto Nascimento now back in the series. Good to see him. Fabio Zamperlini, of course, in car 27. Dominic Turcotte in car 73. Already have some of his fans out in the chat. Aubrey Kundal right to the top of the board. Quickly beat by Fabio Zamperlini. Now Dino Filippa, of course, we saw that big move last week from Dino in turn 11 that had a big moment, but glad it all kind of worked out.
Yeah, and you can see how tight things already are. Andrew Bruno Carmo just 11 thousandths of a second quicker than Saavedra in 2nd place, and just shy of a 10th of a second quicker than Resende in 3rd place. So really close. Gustavo Ariel currently 7/10 of a second off. So yeah, really close for the pros up top. Meanwhile, Luan Hot leading up the Pro-Am class in 7th place, the number 25 driver. You can see right here the number 52 of Stacy Bertrand. Just looks like exiting turn 7, Tosa. Thomas Rayleigh as well, looks like just exiting turn 7. Zachary Deuce, the 1112, exiting the Parabolic, I think, chicane. And Dominic Turcott, the number 73, heading up towards turn 9.
Johan Shiradze here from Geodesic. Miguel Colon in car 87 was great last week. Alec Bergstrom here from Maradness M Squad in car 166. How about Paulo Goday making his return to the series with Davana as a teammate here to Neto Nascimento? A really, really potent combo there. A former champion here in the form of Paulo Goday. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. Love 46, her beautiful number 46 on the racetrack. Here's Martin Grabigna in car 23. John Sedlak from Firelight Esports and the New Jersey Club into Variante Alta. Adam Hartzell on track in car 81. Rob Campbell in car 93. So as these guys get their laps in, how about Marco Saavedra right to the top of the board, as you might expect. And this is out of Rivazza coming to the checkered flag. Not checkered flag, I guess checkered for lap 2, but he's still got 1 lap to go. So the white flag, we'll say.
143.9, he's chasing, crosses the line, 144.7.
Wow!
He does not improve, but Zabadil and Gustavo just went nearly a second faster than number 24. Is that correct?
Well, Gustavo does have the world record here.
Yeah, I was going to say, are we surprised, though, the guy that's leading the time he shits on exactly this car around this track? I mean, I don't think it's surprising, but wow, still Andrew, 9.5 tenths of a second. That's a gap right now.
Here's Bruno De Carmo to the line to wrap up lap 2. Paulo Goday to second, chipping into that lead for Gustavo just a little bit. Lap 2 for for Bruno De Carmo. There we go. No quicker. In fact, it was about 7 seconds off. Jackson Resende already wrapped up lap number 2, and that's no faster, it looks like. Fabio Zamperlini, 8th place. Luan Hot currently leading in Pro-Am. The next Pro-Am driver, by the way, as far as qualifying goes, is now Miguel Colon down in 12th, who just set his fastest lap time, but is still about 6 tenths off of Luan Hot.
So it looks like the leaders of each class, Andrew, they have quite a substantial, I think a good, comfortable lead. You can see now Gustavo, I think he's just going to call it quits. 7 tenths of a second quicker than first place. I don't think he needs to push much more than that. And you can see right here, Paulo Goday, he's definitely pushing. And you can see right there how much the car was slipping and sliding towards from Minerali, now heading into Variante Alta. Really difficult chicane right here. They need to push to the limit, and you can see the car essentially just bouncing, really loose on the rear end, and now just applying full throttle as they head downhill.
Well, fans out in the chat, start making your case now for your favorite driver for driver of the day. Right around halfway, we'll start talking about it and get that conversation going. Here's a look at Bruno De Carmo headed down to Rivazza as Jackson Resende moves way up, only a half second off of his world record teammate. Let's see what Bruno can do as Ricardo Rico goes to second spot.
Nice lap right there. Really big improvement now. The top 5 essentially really closing up. Bruno De Carmo is going to unfortunately abandon his lap. Fabio Zamperlini now looks like he was exiting the final corner. Miguel Colon as well, the number 87, heading through the final sector. Campbell, I think he just finished his qualifying attempt, Andrew, with a 145.6. Hartzell looks like he's still pushing on the 5. I think this is going to be his final lap. I don't think they have time to open any more laps, so this is his shot right here to improve. Currently 3.4 seconds away from Gustavo.
Into Pirotelli here for car 81. The slowest of all qualifiers so far. He's 4 tenths off the next car ahead. That is Thomas Rayleigh, who won last week. Thomas Rayleigh, 27th in qualifying. I think he mentioned it in the interview last week. It was going to be a tough day in Italy, and sure enough, it is in qualifying already. He's got some work to do, but a whole 50-minute race to do it. As we take a look on board here again with Adam Hartzell, one of the final drivers on track with any chance to go any faster. In fact, he is one of just 2 who is nursing a lap currently. Here's Bergstrom into the pit lane. So Gustavo Ariel, I think he already called. Yeah, his lap is over, really. So we're watching just Adam Hartzell to see if anything changes with our provisional running order, starting order, I should say, for our 50-minute pro race from Imola. Let's see what Adam can do to the start-finish line this time by.
Currently sitting on a 146.4. I feel like this is going to be an improvement.
Faster.
And it is. 8 tenths of a second quicker. No, 6 tenths of a second quicker. And I think he gets quite a big jump, doesn't he?
Yes, he just jumped up ahead of Thomas Rayleigh, who again won in Pro-Am last week, is now the slowest of all qualifiers here today in Italy. Oh, how the tables have turned. Very interesting, very intriguing, and boy, are the storylines opening up here at Italy for round number 2. Let's talk about our race details and race keys. Race details, of course, brought to you by Whiplash SimCams, JP. 50-minute pro race, 50% fuel limit, open setup. We expect 1 round of pit stops, and tires are available, but I doubt they'll take them.
It's going to be interesting to see, Andrew, if they're going to take tires, as you mentioned. You know, it's a big gamble. You're going to lose quite a bit of time on pit lane changing the tires, so I don't think we'll see that. And the race keys, well, they're quite similar, Andrew. Obviously, the one main difference we have is just save up fuel. You know, obviously, it's going to be a big part of the strategy for the drivers, but obviously, off-track still count. Crazy moves, I feel like we're still going to see them happen, but it's important to avoid them. And obviously, just saving fuel and backing up corners, just obviously, you know, just be careful on corners. We saw Billy Bowerman, I think, a prime example of just taking way too much speed. But yeah, I think that's all we have to say to them. I'm pretty sure they got it under control.
That they do. Let's meet your starting order today here at Italy. Gustavo Ariel, world record holder for the Porsche Cup car here at Imola, on pole. Ricardo Rico will start from second, 1 spot lower than he did last week at Detroit, while Jackson Rosende and Paulo Godai make up row number 2. Dalton Zafadil starts from 24th position. From 5th position. Bruno De Carmo there from 6th, as your race winner from last week will start 5th. His car number is 24. Starting 7th, that's Marco Saavedra. Dino Filippo all the way back in position number 8, your Infinite Racing Services duo from row 4. Starting 9th, that's Fabio Zamperlini. 10th is Luan Hot.
11th place, we have Alex Jenkins, the number 9, and the number 42 of Scott Reister in 12th place. 13th place, we're going to have Miguel Colon, the number 87, and the number 100 of David Schwartz on the outside in 14th place. 15th place on the inside, we're going to have Ryan Kerr, the number 01, and the number 166 of Alec Bergstrom in 16th place. 17th, we're going to have Love 46 in the number 46 car, and the number 66 of Johan Shirazzi in 18th place. 19th place in row number 10, Andrew, we're going to have Aubrey Kundal and Rob Campbell in 20th place.
Starting 21st, it's Dominic Turcotte. 22nd, Martin Gravigna. 23rd, it's Stacy Bertrand from Rockefeller Racing. Zachary Deas will start from 24th. Starting 25th in row 13, Armando Bejaran alongside John Sedlak. That's all we have time for. It happens quick with these standing starts, and we are ready to go racing in the North American Racing League from Imola. Green flag in the 50-minute pro race. Already trouble. One car hard in the fence. Both of the IRS machines around the Infinite Racing Services duo, and there is utter chaos in Tamburello on lap 1. Everybody, though, headed up out of Tamburello, at least the drivers that can, to Variante Villeneuve for the first time, and that is car 99, way back there, Marco Saavedra. Dino Filippo also in trouble on lap 1.
It's really unfortunate for those drivers. Early instance setting them back quite a lot, Andrew. Meanwhile, you can see right there on the exit of the second Variante and heading into turn number 7, everybody keeping a single file, but you can see just this massive train. Meanwhile, you can see right there the leader just kind of checking away a little bit. It's like creating a little bit of a gap right there to second place. Meanwhile, you can see right here there are pretty much no gaps back on it, Andrew.
Oh no, John Sedlak backwards.
As John Sedlak, unfortunately, out of turn 9, faces backwards. Going to have to wait, it looks like, for a few cars before rejoining. Well, yeah, that's the story of lap number 1. A few more cars having issues early on in the race.
Here's look at your race leaders through Variante Alta for the first time. Single file, I see Scott Reiser, Miguel Colon, Aubrey Kundal, and several. Dominic Turcotte goes through. Stacy Bertrand, Armando Bejaran, everybody headed through Alta for the first time. Turn 16 down to Ravazza. You see your race leaders. Gustavo Ariel out front, as to be expected with that world record lap time.
And you can see right there the gap just extending, just like similar to what we saw on the amateur race, Andrew. Gustavo Ariel is pretty much imitating, I guess you can say, 1.2 seconds as they finish lap number 1. Ricardo Rico leading Rosende and Bruno De Carmo. Luan Hot, an excellent 6th place for him, Andrew. A really good start for the Pro-Am leader so far.
Love this speed shot here at Imola. At a lot of road courses, it doesn't really work out. It ends up having to be a little further away from the racetrack or something, but I really do love it here at Imola. Let's take a look at what happened here in the opening moments. To go even further back, find a point further back in the replay to really see what happened into Tamburello lap 1. Here it is. Watch the one car of Dino Filippa right in the midfield. Oh, man, contact there with, I think that might have been Luan Hot. There's Dino through the grass. Problems for Saavedra. Big issues here on the start of the race.
Yeah, you can see right there, there's going to be a massive slowdown as well of just taking, essentially the gravel trap. And we're going to take another look. I think this is going to be following Saavedra, correct? And yeah, so this is tracking his car to see exactly pretty much how it happened from his point of view, at least tracking his car.
I'm not sure who that was they made contact with. That was Luan Hot. And, you see one into the wall, that was Ryan Kerr, along with one other car. Into the wall hard that first lap, that first set of corners, but everybody else actually had a very calm rest of the lap. There were a couple of small incidents, but really all of the heat was up front. That was where the big mistake was and the big incident. So we come around to complete lap 2, and you can see Ricardo Rico with Jackson Resende and Bruno De Carmo close behind, but that's second, third, and fourth because your race leader Gustavo Ariel has already scooted away to a 1.6, 1.7 second lead. Bruno, though, that lap in the draft, fastest.
Yeah, that's really important, Andrew. Now the question is, will the teammates help each other, or will they essentially have team orders in order to try to pass Ricardo Rico up ahead and maybe secure second and third place? It's going to be interesting to see how that develops between them. Obviously, running this close, they can save fuel and help each other out in the long-term strategy.
You can see the weather conditions at the top of your screen. Clear skies, 74.3 degrees, 83-degree track temp. Very close to what we had for the amateur race. Laurent Zavadil has got company in the form of Pro-Am leader Luan Hot, and I think making the case early in this season that Hot might be able to move up to the pro category, whether it's the end of this season or potentially mid-season. I think certainly Car 25 can bump up a class here very, very soon.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job, Andrew. Currently sitting 9th place on the Pro-Am settings, 10 points behind the leaders, Thomas Rayleigh, but so far an excellent race for him, an excellent qualifying session. I think he was the only Pro-Am in the top 10 if he cracked that barrier, but still, 2 places clear of Jenkins in 9th place. So a really comfortable race for him so far, Andrew, but still 45 minutes to go. That's plenty of racing, so he needs to keep himself sharp and obviously keep that pace up high.
And how about Alex Jenkins? First time seeing this guy. I don't recall seeing him at all last week at Detroit. Good to see Alex Jenkins in the top 10, brand new. I've never seen this name, never seen this car before, but good to have Alex in the top 10 early here in Italy. A really strong run already for car number 9. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, of course, we saw the issue for John Sedlak. That was the other big incident there on lap 1. The Firelight Esports driver had the issue in Piratella, but it looks like has kept the car on track since then. And a big shout out as well to this guy, a new partner, or at least has been a long-time partner, but in a new form here, is the man behind Victorum, which is the new scoring service that the North American Racing League uses to set up and show their standings. And hopefully new stat lines as well, because this will be an interesting stat line, all the passes that he's going to have to make here today at Imola, as he is now 30th position of 30 cars in our pro race. Just ahead of him, Matthew O'Leary and Johan Shirazzi, who went top 10, by the way, last week at Detroit. Problems for Johan early from Geodesic. He's got a lot of work to do as well. Also having to try and climb through the field. How about Thomas Rayleigh, who's 20th position, admittedly way up from where he qualified in 28th and was 29th on lap 1, but has a lot of spots made up already here, racing with Armando Bejaran for 19th spot.
Absolutely, the Pro-Am points leader as he comes into this race, as you mentioned, making good inroads early on in the race. He still needs to make a bunch more, Andrew, if he wants a shot at retaining that lead on the championship. But looks like so far he's keeping himself clean, and looks like he has the early pace to make a few extra moves. So we're gonna have to keep an eye out on Thomas throughout the race. And but looks like right here he's putting the car ahead. I'm not quite sure who that is, but really under pressure. We saw that Porsche squirrely, almost out of control on the exit of Variante. Armando Bejaran is the driver ahead of him.
And briefly, you saw us look at Neto Nascimento. And, oh, well, there goes Armando off course into turn 18 through Ravazza. Problems there for the Wahuka Racing number 05, right in front of Ryan Kerr now in Love 46. Back here, just south of 20th position, Ryan Kerr squeezing to the right side, and hey, that's going to work out. It's going to be a nice position here for Ryan, so long as he can close this pass, but Ryan has that damage from lap 1, holding him back a little bit, and sure enough, falls back in behind Armando Bejaran, your defending Pro-Am, well, I guess reigning Pro-Am champion there. Not defending, and oh no, problems there through Tamburello, and Ryan Kerr back off track in Tamburello once again.
All right, and unfortunately forced Armando Bejaran into a mistake, but that mistake ended up backfiring on him as he ended up losing, I think it was 4 or 5 positions, and Armando still gets to keep his spot, but looks like he's suffering quite a bit, Andrew, just due to pressure, maybe that bit of damage on his car. Meanwhile, we can see right here Savendra, the driver that was really, I think, the one that lost the most amount of positions on their first lap, but I think it was inside the top 5, now currently sitting 23rd place. He definitely needs to make up some inroads, and he's definitely applying some pressure right here.
Right behind Love 46 and Armando Bejaran. So 20th first, 22nd, and 23rd positions. Love 46 got into the back of Armando into Aqua Minerale, and there you go. You see the 05 car way out to the left side of the course, comes back on track now, or at least is trying to, nearly swipes the left side there of Ryan Kerr. And Armando down to 29th position as here comes Matthew O'Leary to pass the 05 car. Trouble there, and oh, that was close into Alta, but you can see the damage all over the nose there of Love 46.
Yeah, you can see right there, the nose is really damaged. I wonder, Andrew, if Love 46, you can see right there taking a little bit of avoiding action. I'm not quite sure. Do you take the fast repair early on in the race, or do you just wait?
Gotta wait for that pit stop.
Yeah, you just have to, right? You're going to lose way too much time on such a quick course. Meanwhile, you see right here an interesting battle, the 193 of Paulo Godoy chasing Lawrence Zavadil. Really close battle right here as they head into the second variante. This is going to be a good one to keep an eye out.
Louet Hot just past Zavadil to move into the top 5 overall, so move your Pro-Am leader up one more position, as now Zavadil is trying to hang on to the 6th position. Paulo Godoy, now a pro, a former Pro-Am champion here in the Porsche Cup cars, the North American Racing League, putting some valid pressure on here early. And you can see that pass happened between the start-finish line and Tamburello, because Hot is still listed as the car that Godoy is chasing, so a very recent pass for that 5th position.
And a good one now. They're obviously chasing Luan Hot, still in, as you mentioned, 5th place. But yeah, Andrew, I mean, you mentioned, how many times did we see a mid-season promotion from Pro-Am to Pro? I don't recall the last one.
It's happened a couple of times, but not that recently. You have to go back a few seasons, I believe, but it has happened before. I think you might have to exercise it for Luan Hot. He is driving away right now, and you know what? I say that Alex Jenkins is at the back end of this train, so this battle between 1st and 2nd and Pro-Am really is not as far apart as we think it is. The red car up the road from car number 9 here is the Pro-Am leader of Luan Hot.
Yeah, and that's crazy. These two are just driving absolutely fantastic. Obviously, you know, we have a few extra Pro-Am drivers right behind it, another 2 seconds back from Alex Jenkins. But as you mentioned, this train, you know, is just essentially separating the 2 Pro-Am leaders. So a lot could still happen. So I think it's extreme pace from both of them, Andrew. Alex Jenkins as well is doing a fantastic job of keeping up with the Pro drivers just ahead of him.
Well, we're not taking a replay here. That was not supposed to come up, but we are riding on board still here with Alex Jenkins, and I'm just looking through some stat lines. I'm very impressed with Alex Jenkins here. Very, very genuinely impressed. Again, brand new to the series, doing a fantastic job. And ahead of guys like Dino Filippa, by the way, in car number 1, who's back here in the 10th position. A look here at our top driver, we thought, coming into last week, nearly won the race, had troubles late with Gustavo Uriel, who's currently leading this one. And now these two drivers 12 seconds apart on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's crazy to see, you know, the gap between them. 12 seconds is a huge gap, Andrew, but still, Dino Filippa still in the top 10. It's good, but, you know, when you have a grid this close full of fantastic drivers, there you go. The gap, as you just showcased, 3 seconds to second place on a pro race, Andrew, is not something we're used to, are we? We're always used to, you know, just that nose-to-tail racing, just saving fuel before the pit stops, and then we kind of see the fuel spread out a little bit. I don't think we've seen this too often, did we?
Yeah, this is very much out of the ordinary, really. These kinds of big gaps we're seeing this season, even in the amateur race a little bit ago, right? You don't usually see those kinds of big gaps from the drop of the green flag. Usually it's something that has to be built over the course of the race. So very much out of the ordinary. As here's Neto Nascimento now ahead of Alex Bergstrom. That is for the 14th position. Alec now in 15th. Aubrey Kundal trailing in the 16th spot. But again, I just want to talk about the fact that you've got your Pro-Am leader here on the ticker. Pro-Am second place here. That time is only, looking at it now, about 2 seconds on the racetrack. So if we go back to Alex Jenkins here, live on board, you can see that red car somewhere up the road. I got to find him again. When we go into Peter Tella here, I'll kind of circle him. He's not far up, is Lewin High. He's right around there. Right up the road. Sorry, I had to get my drawing board out. I was missing it. Haven't had it for a few weeks. And glad to get it back out here. As you can see, a battle evolving. Lauren Zavadil still all over the back end of Luan Hot. And this would have big implications then for the Pro-Am lead.
Yeah, absolutely. This could really shape a lot of things away. Jenkins is not in the top 10. Yeah, he's not in the top 10 of Pro-Am. And obviously
didn't race last week.
Oh, he didn't race, so that's why. So he's going to have a huge jump in points, Andrew. I feel like if he continues in 9th place, obviously 2nd place in Pro-Am, I feel like he might just crack the top 10. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, you're going to have to wait and see. But Luan Hot is definitely going to have a huge jump on his position right here, especially as Thomas Rayleigh, I think we saw him. He was outside of the top 15 even. Maybe, yeah, you can see right there in 19th place. So a huge difference between those, Andrew. So we're going to see a huge shakeup in the standings.
Armando Bejeron coming back on the racetrack from a pit stop. And that was a long pit stop as well. 1 minute, 18 seconds in the pit lane. But here we go. A race for position. Dalton Zavadil back on the right side. 3 wide. Makes it Paulo Goday for a moment. We've got proper racing. And now for the Pro-Am lead. Luan Hot nose to tail with Alex Jenkins. Big contact down into Villeneuve.
Yeah, and you can see right there Jenkins carrying a lot of damage. And you can see right there Dino Filippa trying to get past him after that lockup and damage. Unfortunately couldn't. And I'm not quite sure, Andrew. I think Luan Hot essentially let all the 3 of them go. He didn't get such a bad exit to allow all of them between the two, between Tamburello and Variante to get by. But, well, now we have a even bigger, I think, battle right here as Zavadil now and Paulo Goday is going to take the 5th place from Zavadil as they head into this tricky section right here. This is getting so interesting, Andrew.
I feel like that was a little overdue, that pass from Paulo on Zavadil. I think Paulo just clearly faster at this stage in the race. Finally gets that pass made as now Dino Filippa goes on by Alex Jenkins. That is important as well because that puts a car back in between Luan Hot and Dino Filippa. But we know Dino's going to be aggressive here. He needs the standings, especially after last week, the incident with Gustavo Ariel from Dino's own aggression, I'll be honest. Put him behind the marker. So if Dino wants to win or even contend for this championship, he's got to make these passes early, make them aggressively, and continue that aggression. You got to be aggressive to win races, right? You can't do it being complacent. And Dino just has to do that without having incidents like we had last week. Got to be aggressive without the incidents.
Absolutely. And now he has an excellent shot, Andrew. Between him and 5th place, it's what, 2 seconds? 3 seconds? So, everybody's so close together. If he can make a few moves lap after lap, he still has a great shot to 5th place in this race. He just needs to make sure those passes count, and he's not wasting a lot of time between Luan and Hot now. So it's just a question of making those moves count lap after lap and just getting close to those top 5.
Yeah, this is a rare opportunity for Dino to still make up a lot of points as there goes Luan up the inside of Fabio Zamperlini. That move was very late, and Fabio was fantastic in the mirrors, watching for that one, and got up out of the way to avoid an incident. You can see the desperation these drivers are resulting to. I mean, Luan feels the pressure right now, wants to stay ahead of that one car. This is really important as well because every position the pro guys take away from the Pro-Am guys or vice versa is points. They are scored overall and then split into their class categories. So these guys are racing for points on the racetrack.
And I feel like that's what makes this so interesting, because obviously the pros and the pro-ams are going to respect each other in class. Sometimes they're going to take that in mind, you know, they're different classes. But when you're fighting for such a good position right here, Andrew, and you have the pace, that class division, I think it just goes up in smokes. You're just racing for the position.
And there you see Luan lets Dino Filippo go on by. Fabio Zamperlini then slots into 9th, and Alex Jenkins maintaining in your top 10. Up front of these guys, here we go. Jackson Resende, a runner Ricardo Rico down to Tamburello.
And you can see right here down.
Backs out.
Well, down the inside, essentially just backing out. Rico is going to keep that position, but, you know, those two teammates, Andrew, they have to be menacing when you look in the mirror. You know, just you see essentially two of the same cars chasing you. And then, well, you have a few seconds, I was going to say. 10 seconds back, you have this battle right here. So the top 4 are just on a class of their own.
You see Alex Jenkins now is falling back to the company of Scott Reister, David Schwartz, and others. That contact a couple of laps ago has really hurt the 9 car. Let's see if we can go back to it. Very big contact for the nose of the number 9. And this, I believe, is the moment where it happened. Here's the onboard. Alex Jenkins and Tamburello, something happened to Luan in turn 2 to get him completely off sequence in these corners. And all these pro guys took advantage, went right on by. Alex tries to send it up into Variante Villeneuve, and wow, Luan just got on the brakes early.
Yeah, I think, I was going to say on the broadcast camera, it didn't seem like too much of a big hit, but on the onboard, you really saw how massive that hit was. And really unfortunate for him. Now he's going to have that, hindering him for the rest of the race. And Luan,
this is another replay.
It's another replay. But yeah, Luan might be carrying a little bit of damage as well on the rear end of his Porsche.
This is how it all kind of sets up. This is way back to the back end of the previous lap. So you can see Luan well ahead of Dalton Zavadil, the opening portion of this lap, even this sector. I'm really surprised, and I really want to see, actually, what happens here on the entry to Tamburello to set him back. He's moved over to the left side, then comes back across. Maybe it was just that little bit, extra bit of weight shift, and yeah, he got into that corner deep.
And here's the question. You can see he just takes the inside, and then I think he just backs away.
Yeah.
He just, lets the 3 pro drivers take their spots, breaks a little bit early, and absolutely gets smashed from behind. But I feel like he didn't take as much damage as, the number 9 did.
And you know what? I'd imagine Porsche, when they built this car, had to reinforce the rear more than the nose, right? The engine's in the rear. Got to be careful with it, as there goes Zavadil back up the inside of Luan Haut. That is for his 7th position, and Zavadil lose contact on exit. That is out of Villeneuve, right where that incident happened a few laps ago. And Zavadil hangs on to it now, but you can see the damage from the nose of Luan's machine. Look at the damage on the back end of Zavadil.
From my point of view, Andrew, I don't think I can see that much damage, but it's certainly there a little bit.
Just a bit. There isn't much, but there is some damage. Hard to tell from that. You can actually see really from the TV cameras. You can see there's a little bit of a crinkle. Again, there's not much. The backs of these cars really well reinforced, I should say, by Porsche leaving the factory. So good job there. They've definitely built tanks for these guys to race with. Luan Haut then into 8th. Fabio Zamperlini 9th. Alex Jenkins back here still in 10th as Scott Reister and David Schwartz close in. Those are both pro drivers. And how about the Pro-Am class as a whole? They are 8th, 9th, then 13th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th on the racetrack. Saavedra is in the middle of Bertrand and Hartzell. Then 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Love 46 is in there at 25th as a pro driver. Then Gramigna in 26th. Campbell in 28th as one car pits, and that is Alex Jenkins. Yeah.
So I'm assuming the pit window.
Trying to get this damage fixed early, but this is very much within the pit window, yes.
Yeah, the problem is he's going to get, a heavier car than everybody else around him. And at the end of the race, he's going to have tires are going to be a little bit more worn just to carry that a little bit of extra weight. And obviously, Andrew, the risk here is just getting stuck in a pack of, guys that are not driving the same pace as you. That's the risk of sometimes pitting early. If he can get a patch of clear air, he might be good to make up a few tenths of a second back. But if he gets stuck behind traffic, as looks like it's not the case, he might be within a shot of not losing that many positions.
Alex blends in 23rd, But this is where it's 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Basically, darned if you do, darned if you don't. Alex has to pit because of all the damage, but now he's got the heavier car. That said, it's going to help that car nose in. It might be a little more lively at turn in on the brakes. That might help him out a little bit as far as kind of accidental handling advantage, but he had to do that. He was losing so much time in a straight line, a lot of damage to the nose of that race car. He had to come in before the rest of these guys to try and mitigate that damage and that time he was losing from the car itself. So I think taking the lesser of two evils certainly there is Alex Jenkins. Here's the battle, second, third, and fourth. This is oh so good, especially as we approach halfway, JP, in the time where we're going to start talking about your driver of the day. And Gustavo making a great case as he turns a 1:43.664. Not quite world record, but boy is it quick as he's 6 seconds ahead of this battle.
Yeah, that was essentially close to his qualifying time, if I'm not mistaken, and just, less than 2 seconds away. Yeah, just barely 2 seconds away from his world record. So the pace is, it's there, 5.7 seconds away from second place. It's fantastic. And, it's an easy shot. I feel like I'm going to take both leaders, Andrew, Gustavo and Lewin Hot, for my picks of the driver of the day so far, with 25 minutes still to go.
Well, you perfectly took my cue without me even having to talk about it, because we are now taking one pro driver and one Pro-Am driver. So a big difference from seasons past where we only took the pro drivers for the driver of the day vote. Now we are including Pro-Am, very much heavily requested by the drivers. So we wanted to include that, as Fabio Zamperlini goes by Lewin Hot and moves Luan one spot closer to potentially having to race for this lead. David Schwartz here, Neto Nascimento just passed him. So as far as driver of the day nominations from myself, again, we get one pro driver nomination, one Pro-Am driver nomination. You already got Gustavo and Luan. I'm going to take Alex Jenkins for sure out of the Pro-Am class. He has been sensational behind the wheel, and now is trying to deal with the damage that he was dealt early on in this race. I'm going to say by no fault of his own. I think is that fair to say? Racing incident, did nothing wrong? Well, I'm going to say
23rd place. Oh yeah, sorry, just cut you off, but still in 23rd place with his pit stop already done. So
yeah,
he might be within a shot of still finishing, I am assuming, in the podium of the Pro-Am class.
Absolutely. I don't think he finishes any worse than second unless he makes a big mistake. But Alex Jenkins certainly is up for the nomination, at least in my mind. The other driver I'm going to go with is Neto Nascimento makes a big pass on Scott Reister. I'm thinking about it, and I think it's going to be Neto. Started deep in the field, 29th, and this is very similar to last week's eventual driver of the day winner, Giuliano Romagnolo, who started deep in the field, had a start to talk about for years and years, and drove up and finished inside the top 5. Neto here started 29th, is currently now 10th, having passed Scott Reister. Maybe an effective 11th, since pits have not cycled back through since Alex Jenkins was first in the pit lane, but Neto Nascimento has got to be on that list for driver of the day. 19 positions made up already, and probably counting as this race goes on. So your options today are race leader Gustavo Ariel, Pro-Am leader Lewin Hot, and then Neto Nascimento, also from the pro category, and finally Alex Jenkins, also from Pro-Am. So this is going to be fun. Driver of the day, there it is, your 4 options. That vote will be up on YouTube very shortly. In fact, it already is. Just watching Neto through the mid portion of the lap. Problems for Martin Gramigna, it looks like, deep into one corner. Not sure which one that was, as Gustavo goes even faster.
So taking a look at the replay, you can see right there the fastest lap of the race set once again by Gustavo. And you can see right here the number 23 of Martin Gramigna heading into the Tamburello chicane. And you can see right here defending the inside line.
Oh!
They make ghost contact essentially, and both drivers go really off. Martin just taps the tire barrier, no damage done, but that was a big lockup for him.
I want to see that back. This is really odd racing for the 28th position. Ryan Kerr, the other driver involved, they've both towed to the pit lane. I don't understand this, how you make that contact racing for the last 2 positions in the field. But it looks like Martin came over a little bit. I don't know. I doubt that was intentional. But personally, I don't really understand that one. Really odd to have. Again, racing for 28th and 29th in a 29-car race, since Armando Bejaron has already called it a day and is out of this race. Again, that's just very confusing.
Yeah, and Ryan just, he was involved in a few extra incidents today, right?
Yeah, he was swept up in everything that happened on the start in Tamburello as well.
So yeah, definitely not his day. And unfortunately for him, looks like it was an early exit. Meanwhile, we have here the 193. I think he just got past the 1. Dino.
No, Dino's been running him down.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just confused. So, yeah, Dino just essentially just closed up the gap to Paulo Godoy. And I feel like we might see a pass soon because he just how much more confident he's in the braking, Andrew. So, Dino is essentially fighting for that 5th spot, the top 5 spot.
Dino was very strong here with 22 minutes to go. Pit stops looming as Resende might be gearing up for a pass here on Ricardo Rico, who stayed a little bit over to the left to defend ever so slightly into Tamburello. And yeah, I mean, these guys eventually they've got to go, right? Gustavo's been gone, long gone, but I think Jackson Resende and Bruno De Carlo have been sitting back here and saving fuel behind Ricardo Rico, letting him bear the brunt of the air. And at some point, you got to give up the ghost and make this pass, right?
Absolutely. And, I mean, it's a fantastic job what Rico is doing because, you know, okay, maybe, you know, Resende and Carmo are not attacking him as much as if it was a sprint race, but still, you know, getting pressure from both teammates right behind you, you know, both drivers driving from the same team, it's amazing. Resende essentially has no pressure, right? Teammate right behind him. I don't think they're gonna, you know, fight for position when they have, you know, second place just ahead of them. So what Ricardo is doing right here is fantastic. As you can see right there, Resende just driving a little bit wide, getting that off track, you know, just could be burning through those. So an excellent job right here for the 51 so far.
Behind these guys, Paulo Godoy, Dino Filippa still battling. Even further back, Fabio Zamperlino. Wow, I've said this for 7 seasons. And somehow get that wrong there. Fabio Zamperlini, there we go. 8th position, Luan Haut in 9th. Just sort of crinkle of a car somewhere. Might it have been these guys? Filippa going to have an opportunity here into Ravazza. Takes a look. Stays in behind Paulo Godoy, but definitely thought about it. A lot of great battles on this racetrack. We're going to go through a few of them quickly here as we get close to pit stops. But Fabio Zamperlini, Luan Haut close within a second of each other. Then Neto Nascimento about 1 more second back. Scott Reister and Miguel Colon only about a second apart for 12th and 13th on the racetrack. One is a pro, one is a pro-am. Then Alec Bergstrom, Aubrey Kundal also about 5, 6 tenths apart with Marco Saavedra right on the back door of the 53 car for 15th position. And there goes Aubrey to the pit lane. Marco Saavedra that then will take over that spot. Behind these guys, Dominic Turcotte, Stacy Bertrand, less than a second apart. And that is a run through your battles at the moment. But here comes Aubrey Kundal to the pit lane, taking service.
And now we're going to have an idea how long the pit stop time is going to be, and obviously the overall as well. We had a bit of an idea early on with Jenkins. Now we're going to take a look at how realistic it could be. So 12.0 seconds, Andrew, for Kundal stopped. And I think the overall, you can see right there in comparison, 12.4. So really similar between those two. And you can see, I think Jenkins really cleared Kundal, no problem. And you can see right there the other Porsche exiting. Yeah, similar times. I feel like it could be optimized, Andrew, maybe to the high 10s if they're gambling. But I think 11s is what we're going to be seeing for the top guys that were fuel saving throughout the race.
Here we go. Matthew O'Leary, former AM driver, has recently been bumped up to Pro-Am. Not doing so great today, 26th coming into the pit lane, but does come in for service and is right back out, 12.67 seconds in the box. We'll see what he can do for Muradness M Squad, see if he can better things throughout the rest of this race. Here comes Resende into the pit lane.
So this is going to be interesting. He's the first of the top guys, the top 5 essentially.
It's interesting because he was right in behind Rico.
Yeah, maybe trying an undercut?
That's my thought, yeah.
That can only do. I mean, there's no way he wasted more fuel than Rico.
I wonder if this is a team move to let Bruno sit right in behind Ricardo to save a little fuel these last couple laps of the run. As you see, Resende, 10.85 seconds, very quick in the pit box.
So yeah, so 10.8, maybe gambling. Luan Hot now is going to take an opportunity to not use his fast repair. That's kind of interesting.
He might not know. I mean, it's easy to put the blinders on as a race car driver and have a bit of memory loss. He might not know that he's got all that damage to the rear of the car. He also might not care.
Oh yeah, that's true. It might be just visual, you know. But well, 11.6, still a fast stop for him, and he's coming out on clear track, which is good as well. So interesting. You can see Bergstrom now 11.4 as well, so a little bit faster. And Jenkins is, I don't think he's too far behind Luan Hot, but I think he may have lost.
This is tracking to Bergstrom as of the start-finish line, but the time on the screen is the correct time up to Luan Hot from Alex Jenkins. So it is about 4 seconds on the racetrack. That's not terribly far off from what it was before pit stops. I do think, Jenkins did have a slower pit stop, about 1 second slower, so that makes sense, as here comes Gustavo Ariel. This might be the money lap for these guys.
Gustavo pitting a little bit early. Ricardo Rico, I think he's on the pits as well.
Along with Bruno.
Yeah, so I think everybody's going to be pitting this lap. I think Dino Filippa was the only one that kept on going. Nope, he came in as well. So this is the cutoff lap for everybody. Now it's just going to be a race between who can gamble, I think, and sometimes a little bit less fuel. Gustavo 11.6, so you can see where they're running clear air. You're just going to have to take more fuel. Ricardo Rico.
Wow!
Right there. That
Go back to the race keys, right? Save fuel in all caps. That's exactly what Bruno Ricardo did. Where is Jackson Resende? There he is on the racetrack as he comes up behind these guys. Behind them. Wow.
So he ended up actually losing only one position, but the undercut definitely didn't work for him. Dino Filippa and Paulo Gagai. Zapadil exiting Nacho Nascimento. Looks like he may have jumped.
He did.
Yes, Zamperlini, he did. And Schwartz as well exiting the pits. Scott Reister, you can see everybody knows the tail end. This is amazing as Colon now chasing Reister. And we have a few extra fast cars coming. Jenkins jumping both of them.
Jenkins just gets in front of Scott Reister, so yeah, right back where he should have been. I think that was a good call from Jenkins to pit when he did. Here comes Thomas Rayleigh, last week's Pro-Am winner and current Pro-Am points leader out of the pit lane. 13.03 seconds in the pit box. Bit of a longer stop there for Thomas, not able to save too much fuel. As we've got ourselves a race up in the podium. Jackson Resende trying to get back after Ricardo Rico. One of those Texaco Racing by TK drivers got by in the pit lane. The other did not.
And interesting, you can see right there, Bruno De Carmo is not pulling away as much from Ricardo Rico. I think he just got a little bit of a gap, around 0.4 of a second, but you can see Ricardo is still very much in this battle, Andrew. This is not going to be so easy for the two Brazilian teammates to get rid of the 51 unless he makes some slight mistakes like that. But you can see right here on exit, he was all composed, and yeah, this is just so difficult to find that extra pace between these guys. They're all running on the limit.
The vote is not final yet. The vote is not final yet. It will expire when we read the results at the end of this pro race, about 17 more minutes, if you will, to get your votes in here on YouTube. But Gustavo Ariel is leading by a landslide. It's 70% to 20%, JP. Half of the vote is the margin between Gustavo and Neto Nascimento, the two pro drivers on the board. Luan Hot, no votes yet. Alex Jenkins has a few. And there is Jackson Resende up the inside of Ricardo Rico for a moment. And he might have a better opportunity here in Piratella very soon.
Yeah, my looks like maybe not on this lap, Andrew, but you can see right there.
There it is.
He's definitely putting. Oh, what?
Wow, a contact!
Contact, and both of them spinning out. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Unbelievable.
10 seconds is a gap between them and Dino Filippa, so they're both going to rejoin and keep their positions. That's just how much advantage they had, Andrew.
Unbelievable. And now these two right back nose to tail, and Jackson gets in deep to Aqua Minerale, loses a bunch of time now to Ricardo Rico, and I think Ricardo gets the last laugh in that fight, gets to drive away from Jackson Resende with no more pressure for the third position. All it did was take Ricardo away from fighting for Bruno's position for second, which is still a big time hindrance, but compared to what it could have been, I think Ricardo will take it.
Oh, absolutely. And instead of losing a lot of positions, he just ended up losing time to Bruno Cartman, a possible second place. But that was an over-optimistic, I think, dive down
Yeah.
into turn 9. You don't really see that so often, and unfortunately, just didn't really catch. You can see right there the dive. The 51 gives plenty of space, but Jackson just carrying so much speed, he ends up drifting wide.
Yeah, that looks a lot like Dino up the inside of turn 11 last week, where it's just late into a corner. It's just simply not going to work out. It was a late move already into Tosa. I think the drivers are put in a little bit of a box, to be fair to them, because they have to make these kind of moves late in the race. They get stuck in a rut. Otherwise, if you never try to pass, you're never going to make the pass. But Jackson just got in deep when Ricciardo came back over to his door, but still gave him room. Jackson came off the curbing a little bit and got into him. And it's racing. And, I'd rather see contact for third than no move at all. But that was certainly a little too optimistic from Jackson Resende.
And absolutely, I feel like he's struggling a little bit now, Andrew. I'm not quite sure if the tires when he locked up, essentially wore out a lot, but you can see he's spinning a lot of his tires. He's really overcorrecting on the exit of corners, and that's allowing Philippa to really, I think, close in bit by bit since last lap. We're going to have to keep an eye out, only 1.5 seconds, but yeah, it could even backfire even more. Andrew, he ends up losing more positions to not only Philippa, but Paul Gadai 3 seconds behind could be a threat as well. Just keeping an eye out on that timer as it now drops to 1.4 seconds, so it could be struggling a little bit of tires.
A little deeper in the field, we talked earlier about your Pro-Am race leader, Luan Hott. Of course, all the damage to that car, a little bit of contact at a couple of different spots, mostly to the rear of that 25 machine. He still sits in the Pro-Am lead, now in 11th position behind David Schwartz from M Squad. By the way, great run so far for Schwartz, showing up for sure, as he's made up a bunch of positions. But Luan down to 11th now after having a very, very strong start in the top 5 a little while ago. Alex Jenkins might be starting to run him down ever so slightly. I don't know if he's going to get there in 10 minutes, but JP, he's at least getting closer.
Absolutely, just taking away that, that time little by little. And I think this is an amazing show of even mental strength, Andrew, to have that big of a contact, being forced to pit early and still keeping up good laps and now closing a little bit of the gap. This is an excellent race, and if it wasn't for you, I think I would change my driver of the voting.
Yeah, we'll come back to Neto here in a moment. Really great run for him as we're still on board with Alex Jenkins there briefly. Hopefully for us anyways, he can make that time up and have a battle. Here you see Miguel Colon, Marcos Saavedra in 14th, and Scott Reister in 15th. Alex Bergstrom and Aubrey Kundal battling in 16th and 17th. How about Dominic Turcotte, Stacy Bertrand back here? Love 46 as well. In fact, how about a moment here for the females in the series? Stacy Bertrand, Love 46, as they fight here through turn 7 at Tosa, and a position change between the two lone females in the series. Love 46 and Stacy Bertrand having a good day back here in 20th and 21st.
And a really good move right there. A lot of respect between them. And Gustavo sets another fastest lap, but really good showing between them. And obviously really nice to see both of them sharing the same piece of tarmac, and really close space throughout the race to be this close at the end of the race with only 9 minutes to go. And I don't think this might be the end. Love 46 obviously got that position, and let's see if she can drive away.
Love 46 was fantastic last week at Detroit. Really put that car up the order, and I wonder if that comes from some of the Formula 4 experience that she has in the real world, running on a few more street courses potentially. It's hard to say, but really fantastic job at Detroit last week, and came home with a top 10. Today, a little further back, admittedly. Started 17th, now in 20th position after having passed Stacy Bertrand, has been as low as 28th. But still a solid day for her, and of course Stacy Bertrand as well. Back here in the 21st position, just lost a spot, but how about that? One of the lone Rockefeller Racing entries in the Pro and Pro-Am race. Good to see Stacy. Was in the top 20 briefly. And you mentioned Neto Nascimento, now in 8th position. Was my Pro nominee for Driver of the Day. Up from 29th to 8th. That is 21 positions.
And that is absolutely insane. 21 positions on well, on any race, we don't really see that often in NARL, and he's just doing fantastically well. And let's see, the gap between him and Zavadil is 3 seconds with 8 minutes to go. I feel like that's going to be a bit of a stretch unless he puts on absolute qualifying laps, but still, Andrew, I mean, that has to be one of the records for the highest amount of positions gained in one NARL race. It has to be close to at least.
So another fast lap there that time out of Gustavo Ariels, who ride on board with Neto. A lot of great storylines as this race, honestly, starts to calm down, although we do have this battle developing, this for fourth, and this is a big run to Variante Tamburello, and yeah, Jackson recognizes the big run for car number 1, and rightfully so, gets up out of the way of Dino Filippo, reigning champion. That was a good move from Jackson to just let the Wookiee win for a moment. I had to use it at some point today. May the 4th be with you, of course. Had to just let the one car go.
Yeah, and that's I think a smart move, Andrew. We talked about it. The tires might be a little bit worn, and instead of maybe risking another bit of contact and obviously another 4X, which he might be close to the limit, just losing an extra position. He tried to gamble it for 3rd place, didn't really work out. Might end up finishing in 5th. Still not the worst result possible, is it?
Absolutely not. I think a lot of drivers in this race are doing a good job of coming back from some early incidents. I mean, we still have a few out of the race. Most recently, Zachary Deas in 27th. But Ryan Kerr and Martin Gambigna, of course, in their incident, also out, along with Armando Bejeron. But everybody else has done a fantastic job of just trying to fight back. And maybe one of the race keys needs to be changed next time to don't leave too early. Stay in this race. Attrition is always a factor in the North American Racing League. It always comes up by the end of the day. As here we go. Race leader Gustavo Ariel, purple again, and the 143 O's comes around to the back end of the lead lap. Matthew O'Leary is last on the racetrack and about to go one lap down.
And it's so interesting to see, how Resende is struggling with the tires after a spin. Meanwhile, Gustavo can just put up fastest lap after fastest lap, with 5 minutes to go.
Whoa, that was interesting.
Very close. Yeah, it's just so interesting to see the difference between those two, how much a spin can actually hurt your tires and really hurt your race towards the end of it. But meanwhile, Gustavo, a class on his of his own, 13 seconds ahead of 2nd place. That's just dominating on a whole new level.
And the top 2 in Pro-Am not changing as Alex Jenkins drops behind Marcos Saavedra in 12th. Also a decent comeback here for this guy who got sorted behind the field rather deeply. Lap 1, you see all the damage to the right side of the car. Started 7th, is now into 12th after dropping to 28th on lap number 1. Just a lot of trouble there for Marcos. Glad he's been able to drive back through the field a little bit, but still 43 seconds shy of Gustavo out front. And this is a good fight. Here we go. 16th, 17th, 18th. A bunch of Pro-Am guys. Alec Bergstrom, Aubrey Kundal, Thomas Rayleigh. These guys are, it looks like, 4th, 5th, and 6th in class.
And interesting because obviously Rayleigh and Kundal, they do share the top 10 in the overall Pro-Am standings. So could be a battle of, obviously, Kundal trying to inch a few points closer to Thomas Rayleigh, sitting 6 points back. So, just one position, Andrew, definitely going to help that cause, definitely going to allow Kundal to, get at least 1 point closer to Thomas Rayleigh. And but still, 4 minutes to go, needs to finish ahead. Thomas obviously will want to get past these two if possible, but with 4 minutes to go, that's what, 3 laps? It's going to be a hard task.
It's also worth recognizing, I think, the fight for Thomas Rayleigh today started 28th, was as low as 29th, is up inside the top 20. And as a Pro-Am driver, that's a lot more difficult to do. As a pro guy, especially one of your top pro guys, yeah, you might have a bad day to start, but you have the pace to get back through this field. It's almost a given you're going to get 10, 15 spots. For Thomas Rayleigh, it's not the case, right? I mean, he had to fight tooth and nail for that win last week at Detroit in class, and today has fought back up tooth and nail for 11 or so positions. Still, a really solid day at the office for Thomas. He's up to 18th overall, 6th in class. It's still not a bad day when you consider every little bit going into this effort, and he could easily get these couple of spots. I mean, Alec Bergstrom could slip up. Of course, Aubrey Kundal right on his nose. This is a straight-up fight with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. On the amateur race, we had, these kind of fights going up to the line, Andrew. And I do kind of expect this one to essentially be the same. And you can see right there, Thomas Redley kind of struggling a little bit of, keeping his nose so close to the car ahead. Saw just a little bit of luck up, and he went a little bit wide on turn 7. But still, really close to the battle, still very much applying pressure. It's going to be interesting.
Into Aqua Minerale here, 2.5 minutes to go. And these drivers are now on lap 28 of an expected 30 as, up in the air a little bit was the left side of Gustavo Ariel's machine, or I guess right side actually, as he paces the field by 15 seconds. Outright pace over Bruno De Carmo. That is insane. 15 seconds. This driver has gotten everybody else as he approaches another lap car, this being John Sedlak a little ways up the road. And John Sedlak, a driver that got set back early, really has not been able to do much with it. Although, you know what? Hey, he's a spot up from where he started, despite the issues at the start of the day, dropping him to 30th position. He's gained a spot from where he started. All things considered, I don't think he can be too upset with that kind of day.
No, absolutely not. It could have certainly been much, much worse. But obviously, starting ahead of where you qualified is always the goal. And even if it's just by one single position, it's going to be a good day. And I think you can say, Andrew, it's just going to be damage limitation, isn't it?
For sure.
It could have been much worse. And, finishing in a decent position, not obviously where you want to be. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure he will take it.
Now Gustavo Ariel runs into Ravazza one more time, and this should be the white flag. We'll have 29 laps then in a predicted 30-lap race. This should be it. As we come around to the flag stand, yes, white flag goes in the air for race leader Gustavo Ariel one more time around here in Italy. And Gustavo will have himself a big-time win. Go back to the track map earlier. I noted the fact that Gustavo has got the lap record here. And it's always cool to see guys that you know in the lap record category, the world record category on iRacing. It's a lot of guys that have been around for years, been in the Pro Series for years, 10, 11 years or so. You don't often see guys from leagues that we cover here at Pit Stop TV. This, though, Gustavo Ariel, it's so cool to see his name at the top of the board. World record in the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Car 992 at Imola Grand Prix, and he's showing why.
Oh, absolutely. It's even better, obviously I know Gustavo because I've raced with him back when we had a PS4 and we did Project Cars together. So, we kind of do go back. I'm not quite sure if he remembers. We only did a handful of races together, but, it's still very nice to see that, we both transitioned to iRacing. I went to the commentator side. He went to being, a world record holder. So, we both went our ways, but it's still very nice to see how well he's doing. And, the time that he's definitely put in being a real-life car driver. I'm not quite sure if he is anymore, but still, you can see how that transitions to iRacing. Just a fantastic job for him and a well-deserved victory today.
And how about the fact that he drives for Tony Kanaan? I mean, that's hard to top as he comes around Ravazza for the final time today. And it's going to be a big-time W flown for the Brazilian here today at Imola. Gustavo Ariel goes to victory lane in round number 2 this season for the North American Racing League Porsche Cup season number 3. Bit of a drift there as well as a few more battles come to the line. Ricardo Rico did drive back up to Bruno De Carmo within 1 second by the end of this race, but Bruno's still going to take that spot as Jackson Rosende similarly hangs on over Paulo Goday. For the Pro-Am win, it's still going to be Lewin Hott as here's Neto Nascimento and Fabio Zamperlini through Ravazza for the final time. And finally, Lewin Hott down into the final couple of corners for Pro-Am.
He's going to be taking this after a beautiful drive. Unfortunately for him, just dropped out of the top 10 by 5 seconds. But still, Andrew, I feel like a very cool, very collected drive. Smart sometimes, just allowing the faster drivers to go through. And he ended up securing this victory. Very well deserved. Meanwhile, we can see this battle almost went to the line. Well, technically it did went to the line. But I think that was Scott Reiser, just edging out a driver. And, what a race we had. It's full of brilliant moves, and you can see right here, drivers still going at it up until the line.
Love 46 will finish 19th. Here's Dominic Turcotte in 20th. Stacy Bertrand will come across the line just behind Dominic in 21st. And that will about do it. The final car to finish today will be Rob Campbell back here in 24th position. Car 93 just kind of relaxed coming around the final couple of corners. And to the start-finish line, this will wrap up one amazing race today here at Imola. Round 2 in the books. Gustavo Ariel with a big-time win once again here in the North American Racing League. How many times have we said that now? Let's take a look back at our unofficial race results. Certainly an impressive afternoon at the office for Texaco Racing by TK. Gustavo Ariel to victory lane. Here's your top 10.
As we mentioned, I think that was over or under 15 times, Andrew, that we mentioned Gustavo Ariel. Bruno De Carmo is going to finish in second place. Ricardo Rico is going to finish in third ahead of Dino Filippa. Jackson Rezende in 15th place ahead of Paulo Gadai. Lawrence Zavadil, Neto Nascimento in 8th. Fabio Zamperlini and David Schwartz for an all-pro top 10.
By the way, I don't think we had any drive-through penalties in this pro race, so if we can get a round of applause, I didn't see a single one.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think we both won that bet as well, so that's the second round of applause.
Well, there's Luan Hott for the Pro-Am win, 45 seconds behind the eventual overall race winner, Gustavo Ariel. Alex Jenkins goes 12th. Scott Reister 13th. A solid day for him again. Miguel Colon there in 14th. A lot of Pro-Ams on this screen in 14th. And then Marcus Saavedra 15th. A couple of Pro-Ams back here, 16th, 17th, 18th. Bergstrom, Rayleigh, and Kundal. Aubrey lost those couple of spots in the last lap, it looks like. Love 46 comes home 19th. Dominic Turcotte 20th.
21st place goes to Stacy Bertrand. Johan Shiratse is going to finish in 22nd ahead of Adam Hartzell. Rob Campbell in 24th. John Sadler 25th. Matthew O'Leary in 26th. Zachary Deuce in 27th. Martin Gramigna in 28th ahead of Ryan Kurt and Armando Bejaran.
And that is all 30 starters here today. And that means Gustavo Ariel is solidified as today's driver of the day. And boy, is it oh so deserving. World record holder won by 17.5 seconds. JP, here is your overall race winner from Italy.
Gustavo, voltei agora para as corridas Pro e, sem surpresa, mais uma vitória tua. Dessa vez não teve nem competição para o segundo lugar.
Pô, obrigado aí, João. Bom ver você novamente. Valeu aí, galera que tá assistindo. Bom, foi sensacional porque a gente conseguiu colocar um ritmo bom desde o começo, uma pista que me deu muito bem. A gente venceu corridas aqui na classificatória do Mundial, a gente fez pole também, então é mais ou menos um desempenho que eu tenho mais ou menos em Interlagos, assim, acho que é uma pista que eu tenho aqui. Então, tô muito feliz com o resultado, muito feliz também pelos meus companheiros de equipe que conseguiram chegar ali no top 5, né? Nós três correndo e os três conseguiram, o Bruno em P2 e o Jackson em P5, né? Tava P2, P4 a corrida toda ali, então foi sensacional para o campeonato, é muito bom. A gente teve um P3 depois da batida que a gente teve na primeira etapa, então vamos continuar seguindo, pontuando aí entre os 3 primeiros, entre os 4, igual a gente fez na GT3. Então é sensacional aí, tá participando de novo. Obrigado demais a galera aí. Vou me intrometer um pouquinho. Posso falar inglês aqui com o pessoal?
À vontade.
Well, guys, just speak a bit in English. Very happy to be back on the podium, to be back on the top step of the podium. It's my first time driving the Porsche Cup Series, so I'm very happy with this opportunity. It's an amazing championship. Scott did very well, and the guys of the North America. So, yeah, very pleased with the opportunity again. Texaco is doing a great job. We put 3 cars on top 5, so yeah, very fun to drive on this track. Also, we won 2 races on the best contender series here, so yeah, it's one of my best tracks. And yeah, let's keep focus to finish all the races on top 5, because it's very close points on the championship. And yeah, let's try to do equal as the GT3 championship that I think our worst result was a P4. So yeah, let's try to stay on top 5. I think it's my goal for the season. Thank you so much all the sponsorships, Tony, Texaco, and yeah, see you guys on the next race.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was going to translate all you said to me in Portuguese, but I'm pretty sure you said everything again in English, so you made my job a little bit easier. But yeah, thank you, Gustavo. Well done on the result today, and hopefully we can see you again and talk to you again in Barber next week.
Thank you so much and see you there. Bye bye.
Absolutely. So yeah, Andrew, that was Gustavo. Well, race winner. I don't think there's much more to say.
No, I think he about got it all. Thank you, JP, and of course, thank you, Gustavo, for his time. Let's move on down to your Pro-Am race winner, Luan Hott, going to victory lane in car 25 from overall position number 11. JP, here is the Pro-Am race winner.
Luan, bom, acabei de falar com o Gustavo, agora a tua vez, vitória brasileira tanto na Pro quanto na Pro-Am, corrida excelente, sua qualificação fantástica. Como é que foi a corrida no seu ponto de vista?
Boa noite, João. Boa noite, pessoal. Good night, guys. Foi bom do jeito que deu, porque eu já imaginava que eu ia ter muitos pontos de incidente na corrida, mas eu não achava que eu ia ficar com 14x com 30 minutos faltando. Então, acabou que com 30 minutos sobrando de corrida, eu tive que fazer um milagre para não conseguir mais um X e ter que pagar a penalidade. Então eu foquei em só manter meu pace do jeito mais seguro possível e não me envolver em acidentes, porque no começo da corrida eu até estava disputando com o pessoal da Pro, por ser uma disputa de corrida e eu, na minha concepção, ver que eu não estava atrapalhando tanto, porque estava todo mundo junto e até se eu tirasse o pé ali, eu acho que eu ia atrapalhar mais do que ajudar. E eu tentei fazer isso, aí eu consegui manter os 14x até o final da corrida e foi muito bom. Depois de uma primeira etapa que foi bem frustrante para mim por causa do combustível, que eu achei que eu tinha uma volta a mais e acabou que eu não tinha, e o combustível acabou no final do stint. Foi uma boa recuperação e eu fiquei muito feliz com a vitória. Tá voltando para as atividades aí nas ligas com uma vitória é muito bom, e tá disputando com esses caras incríveis aí, Ariel, o Neto, o Godoy, o pessoal que tem o Zampa, que tem um pace muito incrível, o pessoal brasileiro, o Bruno do Carmo. É muito bom estar de volta e competindo com esse pessoal.
Com certeza, seu ritmo hoje foi fantástico, a gente falou muito sobre ele. E rapidinho, teus pensamentos para a semana que vem em Barber, uma pista bem diferente, acha que pode replicar o resultado?
Eu espero que eu consiga. Imola é uma pista que eu já estava familiarizado. Obviamente, Barber eu não tô tão familiarizado assim, porque Barber não é uma pista que costuma, pelo menos para mim, que eu costumo ver muito no calendário. Então não corri muito lá, mas eu vou manter o empenho que eu tô mantendo em todas as corridas. Eu vou manter o treinamento, vou dobrar o treinamento para manter minhas chances de vitória no campeonato e fazer o máximo possível para levar o Brasil aí de novo para vitória na Pro-Am, e o pessoal na Pro também tá fazendo um ótimo trabalho. E é isso, as minhas expectativas são as melhores. Eu quero continuar trazendo bons resultados e focar no campeonato. Se o meu pace de corrida não for tão bom, eu espero que seja bom o suficiente para eu me manter vivo no campeonato e manter as esperanças aí, porque é isso que importa no final. O que importa é o campeonato, e se eu precisar sacrificar essa vitória, eu vou saber que eu tô fazendo certo porque eu tô focado no campeonato. E é isso. Eu queria só agradecer rapidíssimo para os meus patrocinadores, que são a Redragon Brasil, a Hell Drive Tech, a Sensa VR Simuladores, Comida do Dia, e os apoiadores, que são Hop Produções, Skins, by Cardoso, hein, que faz essas obras de arte aí sobre rodas, a Fórmula 3D e a Arcuri Consultoria. E agradecer a vocês pela ótima organização do campeonato, que eu tenho certeza que vai crescer ainda mais e vai levar o nosso esporte para um nível maior do que ele já alcançou. E é isso. Muito obrigado aí e boa noite, pessoal.
Com certeza. Meus parabéns de novo, Lua. Espero falar contigo, espero ver uma performance boa lá em Barber semana que vem. E, bom, um bom treinamento e um bom descanso.
Obrigado.
So yeah, Andrew, I think you could tell from his just excitement on the commentary booth, how happy he was with the result. He mentioned, the race was good. The thing that surprised me most is with 30 minutes left, so 20 minutes in the race, he already had 14 instant points, so he was just managing for the last 30 minutes, just one instant point, so he was just taking it easy to avoid any penalties. That's why he let, the pro drivers go, just managing the pace to the second Pro-Am guy. So yeah, and that's the thing that kept him from pushing a little bit more. He was fighting the pro guys, the same pace, but as soon as the instants start piling up, he started to take a little bit easier, and that was certainly the smarter move. And mentioning Barber, he just mentioned it that it's not really used to the track, as it doesn't really, is on official races for the Porsche Cup, so he's just going to be practicing. He mentioned that, he's really thinking about the championship, not each race individually, which is interesting to see. He said he's ready to give up even a possible win to make sure he's in the fight of the championship. So yeah, looks like he's thinking forward, which might be, could be a championship winning strategy as the future comes.
Well, let's check in with your third place driver, it looks like, in Pro-Am today, Miguel Colon, who goes, again, third in class, 14th on the racetrack overall. Miguel, a solid day for you here at Imola. What was it like from your perspective battling with Scott Reister there at the end?
Man, I would say that was an awesome battle with him. Even our pit stop were kind of identical. Like when we were leaving the pits, like the cars were like one on top of the other one. So like, I think we put almost the same fuel and everything. So it was a good battle. I was able to get away from him, and then I made a mistake that put me behind him again. And I had a good shot to get back to Alex to get that P2, but that mistake I did, it was very costly for me in the race. But it was a good race, and also battle with Scott.
And Miguel, we didn't see much of you last week at Detroit. That means you got some work to do here in the standings, but still not too far down. In fact, I'm looking through. Well, actually, I don't see you in the top 10 at all, so you do have a lot of work to do in the season then. But this is a good way to get started. How do you feel for Barber in every race after having to get maximum points the rest of the way to fight for this championship?
Yeah, I would say, it would take every effort. The competition is very tight in the Pro-Am class. Everybody has good pace. You can, today the top three guys, the top two, they were flying at the track. So, we have to, maybe practice a little bit more to get back on pace with the top guys and see if we can compete. Detroit, we had a issue with one of the walls at the beginning and then at the end of the race that put us back in the race. But I think this is a good recovery to get us back in the right path.
Well, there you go. Miguel Colon, third place in class, 14th overall. That's in the top half, buddy. Congratulations. A solid day for you. Podium in class. I'm sure we'll be talking to you next week at Barber as well.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
And that is Miguel Colon from third place in class. JP, that means we just have Bruno De Carmo waiting, who goes second overall today.
Bruno, hoje eu acho que acredito que seja um dos recordes, 3 entrevistas em português, mas significa que os brazucas estão fazendo alguma coisa certa.
É isso, João. Eu vou arriscar aqui o inglês das ruas, aí você fica mais sossegado, não precisa traduzir tudo.
Ah, então me ajuda um pouco.
Well, guys, yeah, really happy with P2. I was really not expecting that result. I was taking on the practice like I was behind Gustavo, 1 second behind, and I couldn't get closer, couldn't get a faster lap, so that was really surprising. I got lucky, of course. Most of the fast guys got crashed in the first laps, so yeah, I'm really happy with the result and really happy with the team. We practiced a lot together, and yeah, that's really good for the results. And we go to the next one with the same mentality, and I hope I can get Gustavo in the next one. Thanks to Texaco, thanks to everyone that are watching my Twitch stream, and thanks Agabe, HB, Logitech, Tony Canan, and see you guys in the next one.
Well, absolutely, Bruno. I was going to ask you about next week, but you mentioned you're going to try to bring the fight to Gustavo. So I think you pretty much covered everything. Well, besides, how was, actually, I'm going to ask you, how was the pit strategy? Were you saving from the start of the race, or did you just try to save, after a certain point? How was it?
Yeah, I was definitely saving from the first lap because I got draft from Jackson on each lap, and then it was easy for me to save a lot of fuel, and that's definitely got me ahead of Rico. So yeah, I got that position was crucial to because of this saving a lot of fuel.
All right, perfect. So yeah, that I think concludes it all. With that being said, I'm gonna wish you the best of luck for next week's round, and hopefully you can take the challenge to Gustavo next week.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks. Congratulations for the awesome broadcast.
Thank you, and well, have a good one. So Andrew, that wraps up, I think, all the interviews we had for today. I think we had an absolutely fantastic race, and well, Barber next week should only get better.
Absolutely. We are set for one fun round. Really, I'd say the next 3 rounds are all going to be, I think, extra special. You could even say 4, since we have such a heavy Brazilian base, both with drivers and fans. The next 4 rounds are going to be a lot of fun. Barber and Rudskogen, 2 tracks we've not been to before with the North American Racing League. Monza has the special combined layout with no chicanes, and Interlagos is always a party with all of you Brazilians that are in this league, and it really is always a treat. It's such a good racetrack as well. I mean, it's really hard to leave Interlagos off of any schedule in sim racing. Yes, even stock car schedules, it's that good. We've got a really solid 4-race stretch coming up, but from May 11th all the way down to June 8th, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only June 8th, Andrew, I think up until July 6th.
Oh, yeah.
June 22nd, I think you can say, after, we're going to have a 2-week break, but it's just going to be an amazing schedule. Barber next week, literally, I think, a roller coaster of a race.
Yeah.
Norway is going to be a new one for us. Monza, I feel like that's going to be a new one for us as well on the layout, isn't it?
Yes, we've got 3 racetracks coming up that have never, at least in their layouts, never been run in the North American Racing League. We've run in Monza before, but not that combined layout. We haven't been to Barber before with the series. We've seen Barber before on the channel. We haven't gone to Rudskogen before at all. And then we have the Nürburgring Grand Prix, which we don't usually see at all. It's rare you see the Nürburgring Grand Prix used anymore. There's just so many tracks now. I mean, even other tracks, maybe not all in Germany, but the Hungaroring, I feel like, has cut into some of the leagues that would run at a racetrack like the Nürburgring. But now we even have Oschersleben that's been added to iRacing that would cut into some of the German races. If drivers and leagues don't want to go to the Grand Prix but don't want to go on the Nordschleife, of course they now have Oschersleben as a possibility, and that's a track as well that I would really enjoy seeing on the North American Racing League schedules. Oschersleben, a brand new track much like Rudskogen that was added this past winter. So a lot of really unique races coming up. A lot of them. Very much looking forward to each and every one of them. Let's take a look at our upcoming broadcasts, though, in the next week here on Pit Stop TV. Next up, we go to Japan. It is a 2nd week in a row in the country of Japan, the land of the rising sun, for the Sim Pit Radical Series. Last week it was Okayama. This week it's Suzuka. And then a doubleheader Sunday, actually, with the Sim Pit Radical Series leading into the Shake and Bake Racing Butt Kicker Cup Series at Kansas Speedway. 2 fantastic races to get things going Sunday afternoon and evening. Then Monday evening, we go to Lanier Raceplex, a very fun 3/8 mile oval at Brazelton, Georgia, just across the street, literally, from Road Atlanta. That's going to be a lot of fun for the iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour, brought to you by Race EPI, powered by the shop. So a lot of fun racing coming up this week. And then, of course, we go on Tuesday. We're opening up a brand new racing league with the D-Line Racing League. David Levine, Zachary Shucker, and so many others leading that. charge. Glad to be bringing them to the channel on Tuesday, May 9th. Wednesday, we have the finale for the UFL Elite Series from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Then Thursday, yeah, we've got a lot of broadcasts coming up. Thursday, we go, of course, to Barber here with the North American Racing League. But JP, with all of those different races coming up, there are plenty of places to follow along.
Oh, absolutely. You can follow us on all social medias at facebook.com/pitstoptv, twitter.com/pitstoptv underscore, on instagram.com/pit_stop_tv, and obviously on youtube.com/pitstoptv1.
It's been a lot of fun, but that will do it this evening from Imola. So glad to have you all watching. A big shout out to those who joined us. Of course, JP and Emerson Arden joining us for the call and social media. It's been a pleasure as always. A shout out as well to today's driver of the day, Gustavo Irial, as voted by you guys on YouTube. It's been so much fun. We'll see you next week from Barber, or Sunday from Suzuka Circuit in Japan. Once again, a mention to those who make it happen for us with the series: Infinite Racing Services, Muradness, Victorum, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and those who make it happen for us at Pit Stop TV, in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. We'll see you Sunday.